Chapter 1690. At that moment, the entire room fell silent. Suyu's body trembled slightly when he heard this, and, who was behind him, trembled as well. Jian Tong was going to confess her love to him, and she was going to do it in front of all the employees. Ahem. Suyu coughed awkwardly. No one said anything. They didn't know how the big boss would react. Jian Tong walked towards Suyu, and before he could react, she wrapped her arms around Suyu's neck, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed him. Everyone was in an uproar. Everyone's reaction was, wow. Jian Tong kissed the big boss by force. Suyu reacted quickly and pushed Jian Tong away by reflex. Then he smiled awkwardly and said, "You've improved your acting skills recently. You tricked everyone." Jian Tong's expression turned ugly. Then, Suyu said, "Don't be fooled by Jian Tong. She's just teasing you and showing off her acting skills." Then, everyone realized what was going on and heaved a sigh of relief. However, Jian Tong's expression was extremely ugly. "I'm leaving. You guys eat." After Suyu said this, he turned around and left without hesitation. And looked at Jian Tong sympathetically and followed Suyu out. Jian Tong felt like her heart had hit rock bottom. She had done so much for Imperial Star, and Suyu had never mistreated her. He gave her money, a house, a car, and all kinds of jewelry and watches. They were all her rewards, but she didn't want any of that. What she wanted now was Suyu's love. She loved Suyu so much that she couldn't let go of him. But why did he keep her at arm's length? Was it because of Huamin? Jian Tong and the others didn't know that Huamin had returned, and was even living with the Su family. She thought that Huamin was still in prison. Therefore, Jian Tong took advantage of the fact that she had made a contribution and put on a show in front of so many people. She just hoped that Suyu would be too embarrassed to refuse, and then the two of them could have an ambiguous start. Unexpectedly, Suyu really didn't give him any face. Although he didn't say it directly, people with discerning eyes could still see what was going on. Tong, don't worry. President Su might be in a bad mood today, Her manager tried to persuade her. Jian Tong didn't say a word. She returned to the main seat and continued to drink with a sullen face. "President Su, where are we going now?" Shaoan sat in the passenger seat of the Lamborghini and asked anxiously. "Do you know where I can buy tofu skewers in chicken soup?" Why do you ask?" Shaoan was startled. "Of course I'm going to buy it, but this is a roadside stall. I don't care what stall it is. I'm just asking if you can find it." "Yes. There's one in the small alley up ahead." Shaoan didn't dare to say more. If the boss said that he wanted to buy tofu skewers in chicken soup, then they would go directly. Sure enough, when the car turned into the alley, there were many stalls selling snacks. Shaoan led Suyu to an old woman's tricycle. "President Su, this is the tofu skewers in chicken soup you're looking for." Shaoan pointed at the big iron pot in the tricycle and said, "Young man, do you want tofu skewers? They're delicious. The chicken soup is ready." The old woman was very enthusiastic. "How much is it?" Suyu asked. 5 yuan a bowl." The old lady answered without hesitation. Suyu took out his wallet, took out the cash inside, and handed it to the old woman. "Here's more than 3,000 yuan. I'll buy the whole pot." "Is that enough?" It's enough, it's enough." The old woman was flattered. "President Su, you want to buy a whole pot? Can you finish it? It's a waste." Shaoan was dumbfounded. Chapter 1691. "Huamin likes them," Suyu said proudly as in and the old lady packed up the tofu skewers. It was rare for the Su family to be so quiet. Huamin went downstairs to get a glass of water when the door opened. A man in his 50s walked in. He looked handsome and serious, and he was wearing a traditional suit. The man looked up at Huamin and hesitated. "Master, you're back." The nanny immediately walked up to him and handed him his shoes. Upon hearing the nanny's words, Huamin immediately put down the glass and greeted him. "Hello, Uncle Su. I'm Huamin." Mr. Su nodded seriously and turned to go upstairs. Huamin was very cautious. Mr. Su was a little scary. When the nanny walked past her, she whispered to her, "Master is like this. Don't be afraid, he's actually a very nice person." Mr. Su was very against Huamin's decision to live with the Su family. However, in the end, the family vote was 3-1, and he lost. Huamin successfully moved into the Su family. Mr. Su was busy with work and had been managing the headquarters of the Su family bank. He hadn't come back yet, and this was the first time they officially met. Mr. Su's indifference made Huamin feel a little uncomfortable. However, just as she felt uncomfortable, she heard the door open again. Suyu was back. He was carrying a lot of bags. "What's this? Didn't you want tofu skewers in chicken soup? How did you know?" Huamin was confused. "I heard it from the nanny, I was just saying." "Why did you take it so seriously?" "Oh my God." Huamin felt like he couldn't speak so casually in the future because Suyu would do whatever he wanted. Was he feeding pigs or humans by buying so much? "Eat it while it's hot, okay?" Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. While eating the tofu skewers, Huamin suddenly said in a low voice, "Uncle Su is back. He's upstairs. Do you want to go up and see him?" "Don't worry, that's how my dad is. He's always cold to everyone, as if someone owes him thousands of dollars." "Pfft, why are you talking about your dad like that?" "It's okay, he's used to it." Suyu didn't care. "You told me today that Gao and Zhu Lingling are getting married on the 16th of next month." "Yeah. Lingling called me." Gao Ran isn't an ordinary person. His father is from the provincial government. This wedding will definitely attract a lot of attention. If you go with your current identity, it might be difficult." Suyu said slowly, "I know, that's why I wanted to talk to you. See if there's any way for me to witness their wedding without attracting attention." Huamin looked at Suyu and said, "Then there's only one way." Suyu rubbed his chin and pondered. "What way?" Huamin was surprised. "I can't tell you now. You'll know when the day comes. Also, don't tell anyone that you're going to the wedding. It's not that I don't trust them, but I'm just worried that something might go wrong. With your current situation, I can't let anything happen to you." Suyu reminded him again. "Okay. I got it. As long as I can attend the wedding, I'll do anything." No matter how smart Huamin was, he still needed Suyu's help at critical moments. While Huamin was looking forward to Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran's wedding, he was also silently waiting for someone to come back. "Seattle, USA, Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran are getting married on the 16th of next month. Don't you want to go back and see them?" The man didn't say anything. His slender suit outlined a perfect picture. "Don't you want to go back and see my sister-in-law? I heard she's more than 2 months pregnant." Qi Ning looked at the man in front of her and said word by word. Chapter 1692. "Yes, our child will come to this world in a few months' time," Lin Sanjiu said. Qin Chu's eyes were extremely gentle as he spoke. "So when do you plan to go back?" Qi Ning looked at her brother, her heart aching. Qin Chu came back to his senses and smiled bitterly. "How do you think I can go back and see her like this? I don't think she'll mind. She'll be very happy to know that you're still alive. But I mind." I'm a man, a husband, and soon a father of 2 children. How can I take care of them like this? Plus, I haven't fully investigated Huasiqian's situation. These are all future problems. If Huasiqian doesn't die, Mian will never be able to rest in peace, but you're cruel to her like this. I know she's been waiting for you. Qin Chu didn't say anything. There was a complicated look in his eyes. Big brother, is it because she's living with Suyu? Is that why you? No. When I'm not by her side, Suyu is someone who can take good care of her. I know Mian's personality better than anyone else, and I'm sure she's feeling terrible. But for the sake of the baby, she'll endure it. As for Suyu, I'll never worry about him. If one day, Mian really falls in love with him, then I'll let her have him. Big brother, you make it sound so easy. Is that what you're thinking? Don't you feel bad? I just want my Mian to be happy, but without you, how can she be happy? Qin Ning's eyes were filled with tears. Although she hadn't known Huamin for long, Qin Ning knew how Qin Chu and Huamin fell in love. She was very touched, especially when Huamin silently took the blame for murder in order to save Qin Chu. This was not something an ordinary woman could do. Ning, men and women have different definitions of happiness. I love her, but I want to love her with dignity. I don't have the confidence to give her happiness right now. I haven't dealt with Huasiqian yet. So, even if sister-in-law gives birth, you don't plan to go back, right? Qin Chu didn't say anything. Okay, I got it. After all, this is your own business. Big brother, you're so smart, you don't need me to tell you a lot of things. You should know better than I do. I just think that you and sister-in-law have been apart for 7 years. You've missed out on so many beautiful moments. Now, sister-in-law is pregnant, you. Forget it, I won't say more. You'll feel bad if I say more. I believe you'll take care of everything. After speaking, Qin Ning turned around and left, in the living room downstairs. Ning, what do you think? What did your brother say? Lady Qin anxiously asked Qin Ning. My brother. Qin Ning didn't finish her sentence and just shook her head. Is it still because of that? Lady Qin looked worried. Qin Ning nodded. My brother's injury is in a very sensitive area. Even the top specialists in the US couldn't heal it. He's an excellent doctor, but even he doesn't have a good treatment plan. He probably thinks he won't recover, so he doesn't want to see sister-in-law. He doesn't want her to worry, and he doesn't want to give her happiness. Then he's willing to let Mian take our child and live with someone else. Lady Qin's heart sank. Chapter 1693. They didn't find out about Mian's pregnancy until later on. They also knew that Mian lied to Qin Chu's father to get the surgery. But later on, she really was pregnant. The Qin family returned to the United States first. Qin Chu's uncle had the foresight and had been moving in secret. When they found out about Qin Chu's plane crash, they also thought that Qin Chu was dead. But a week later, Qin Chu appeared in the United States. It was a miracle. No one asked him what he had experienced or what had happened. Qin Chu also didn't mention what happened that day. However, Qin Chu's right knee was severely injured in the accident. They went to many top orthopedic specialists in the United States, but they couldn't heal it. Qin Chu was deeply affected by this incident and had been brooding over it ever since. Later on, in order to avoid being tracked down, the Qin family all changed their English names, got new passports, and lived in seclusion in Seattle. There was a very big family in Seattle, and they were Qin Chu's uncle's close friends. Therefore, they could protect them very well. This way, no one could find Qin Chu's whereabouts. That included Rick, the Lino brothers, Huasiqian, and Lu Yan, Chin Chu wasn't very agile now and had to rely on crutches to help him walk. So, as proud as he was, he felt like he had suddenly become a cripple. No matter how much he missed Huamin, he could only bury it deep in his heart, "Don't force our son." If he had a choice, he wouldn't have done this. No one is sadder than him. He loves Mian so much. Mr. Chin sighed slightly, feeling sorry for his son. Old Chin. I really want to see our grandchildren. I don't even know if they're boys or girls. Mian is alone in China with the twins and has to live under someone else's roof. How can she live like this? My heart aches so much. If we were all here, would we be able to take good care of her? Lady Chin hated the idea of Huamin living with the Su family. Even though she knew that the Su family was the safest place for Huamin, however, he always felt that if his grandchildren were to be born in someone else's family, he wouldn't feel right. Right now, the Su family is the best choice. Mr. Chin tried to comfort her. Qin Ning added, "Auntie, as far as I know, the Su family treats my sister-in-law very well. You don't have to worry about that at all. There's no such thing as living under someone else's roof. If Commander Su went to such lengths to bail her out, how could she live under someone else's roof?" Sigh. I just want to meet them. The Chin family was not happy in Seattle. Chin Chu went out early and came back late every day. No one knew what he was busy with. Qin Ning was also very careful. She didn't dare to go out too much and didn't dare to make new friends. She was afraid that her whereabouts and identity would be exposed. Domestic, there was a transparent glass greenhouse behind the Su family's villa. It was filled with all kinds of rare flowers, including orchids, daffodils, peonies, lilies. Lady Su liked flowers very much. Every room was decorated with fresh flowers. The greenhouse was very big. There was also a bookshelf and a place to drink tea. Huamin liked it very much. Every day at around 10 in the morning, she would come here to bask in the sun and listen to music. She would read books, trim the flowers and plants, and drink a cup of flower tea. Her days were extremely leisurely. When Su Yu came in, he saw Huamin in a white lace dress. She had her hair tied up in a bun and was sitting there quietly, trimming a pot of red roses. Her profile was very beautiful, especially under the sunlight. Su Yu stood quietly at the door and looked at her. Time seemed to have frozen at that moment. Finally, Huamin looked up and saw Su Yu. "When did you get here? Why didn't you say anything?" She smiled. Chapter 1694. I've been here for a while. You looked so serious, so I didn't want to disturb you. Pfft, come and sit down. I'll give you a taste of my honey green tea, okay? Su Yu walked over with a smile and sat down on the bamboo chair. I heard a piece of gossip that I think you'll be interested in. Su Yu suddenly said. I've never been interested in gossip. Lingling is the one who likes to ask. Celebrities have their own private lives too. It's annoying to be followed by paparazzi every day. It's not easy for anyone. Huamin thought that Su Yu was going to reveal something about a celebrity. However, Su Yu said, it's not about a celebrity. It's about someone you know. Rick and that female university student. Rick and Cece. What's wrong? Huamian's interest was piqued. Rick looked up. Then, he handed over the honey green tea. Su Yu took the green tea and took a sip. Then, he said, as far as I know, they broke up. Broke up? Are you kidding? Huamin thought that Rick and Cece were a good match. When they were together, they looked very loving. You're right. Because of what happened last time, Rick suspected that his girlfriend betrayed you on purpose. Didn't I tell you to call Rick and explain it to him? Huamin was surprised. I did, but it sounds like Rick already knew the truth. As for the real reason why they broke up, it's Rick's own business. After all, no one knows what he's thinking. How did you know? That female university student has an older sister called Xian. She's an actress in our company. She's not very famous, but she has a good reputation in the industry. She took a few days off. I heard that she went to Bali with her lost sister for a vacation. The almighty President Su, such a big CEO, why would he care about an unknown artist? Oh, don't tell me you're interested in her. Huamin teased Suyu. Suyu immediately blushed. What nonsense are you talking about? The reason why I'm paying attention to her is because I had someone investigate Nyelingxi in private. I want to know who she is and whether she works for Huasiqian or Song Qinghua. What's the result? Huamin smiled at Suyu while holding a cup of flower tea. In the end, I found out that she wasn't. Last time, she was just coincidentally used by someone. So, I found out about her family and paid attention to her. This is serious. But with Rick's personality, he must have his reasons for breaking up with her. I can't say anything to persuade him, he has to figure it out himself. It's not up to me to persuade him, but... Poor Cece, she has to bear the pain alone. Come to think of it, it's all because of me. Huamin felt that if he hadn't put himself in danger and caused everyone to worry, perhaps Rick wouldn't have broken up with him in a fit of anger. Nonsense. You can't be blamed for this. She was the one who asked you to persuade Rick. Suyu was completely biased towards Huamin. No matter what Huamian did wrong, he would still try to understand her without reason. Have you taken care of Yang? Replying to your majesty, this humble one has already done as you instructed. Hearing Suyu's tone, Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lord Su, don't be so polite with me, I can't stand it. Huamin, I have a greedy request, I wonder if you'll agree to it. Suyu looked at Huamin's bright smile and felt like his heart was about to stop beating. What is it? Huamin tilted his head and smiled like a blooming flower. If Qin Chu really doesn't come back, you can live with us like this, and never move out, okay? It's not that you have to stay with me, I just want you to stay here forever, even if it's as my friend. Suyu's voice was unusually gentle. He was afraid that one wrong word would upset Huamin. Chapter 1695. Suyu, you have to understand that if I don't stay with you, I won't be able to stay here forever as your friend. Sooner or later, you'll get married and have kids. When that time comes, before Huamin could finish, Suyu anxiously interrupted him. I won't get married or have kids. Isn't it good to live like this? That's not realistic, Suyu. No, to me, this is reality. I think the current situation is very good. I'm willing to continue living like this. I don't want to destroy this beautiful situation. As for how to choose, that's my business. You just need to answer me, will you continue living here? Suyu looked at Huamin expectantly. Finally, Huamin bit down on his lips and said softly, I'm sorry, I can't promise you that. Whether Qin Chu comes back or not, I can't stay here forever. After all, this isn't my home and my child's surname isn't Su. Plus, even if Qin Chu doesn't come back, I have other plans. Right now, I'm pregnant and I only care about the baby. I don't have the time to deal with Huasiqian. But after I give birth, I'll start investigating him. I'll find evidence to clear my name and find a way to get him punished by the law. After all, he's Song Yisher's murderer. So, no matter what, I can't stay here forever. Huamin knew that if he said it, Suyu would feel bad. But that was just what she wanted. She had never given Suyu too much of a fantasy. So, this time, she wouldn't let her feelings for Chin Chu waver just because he might be dead. Okay, I understand. Disappointment flashed across Su Yu's eyes. I'm sorry, don't say sorry, you don't have to. You didn't do anything wrong. I was thinking too much. Oh, right, you said you wanted to deal with Hua Xiqin. How did you know that Hua Xiqin killed Song Yisher? How did you know that he didn't hire someone to do it? After all, he didn't have to do it himself. Su Yu still had many doubts about Song Yisher's death. He had a different opinion from Hua Min. Hua Min believed that Song Yisher was killed by Hua Xiqin and that Mo Shui must have lied. When Song Yisher died, Hua Xiqin would never have been with her. However, Su Yu thought that Hua Xiqin might have hired an assassin to do it. After all, as a leader, he didn't need to personally kill someone and be stained with blood. Hua Min thought for a moment. Then, he sat down on the bamboo chair next to Su Yu and said softly, "Do you remember how I stole Lin Mingge's information?" "Yeah." Su Yu nodded. "I read Song Yisher's autopsy report in detail. It's not something an ordinary assassin could do. If it was an assassin, he could have just killed her with a knife or a gun. There's no need to be so cruel. What if it was a psycho assassin?" Su Yu asked. "I don't think a psycho assassin would cut up the body so perfectly. It's almost as difficult as surgery. It's a waste of time to kill someone like that. I think it's evidence that Hua Xiqin left behind to frame Chin Chu. Also, Hua Xiqin is provoking Chin Chu. Provoking." Su Yu didn't understand what Hua Min meant. Chapter 1696. When we were in school, Chin Chu was a genius. Over the years, he did everything perfectly. Hua Xiqin never liked Chin Chu. It's not only because of me, but also because he wants to compare himself with Chin Chu. He wants to beat Chin Chu in every way, so he deliberately showed off that he could cut up a corpse so perfectly. It's a blatant provocation. I'm sure Chin Chu will see through this. If that's the case, then Hua Xiqin is the real psycho. He's not just a psycho. Remember what I told you about his split personality? When I have time, I'll continue to investigate this matter. It's really strange." Su Yu nodded. Su Yu, about the wedding. Hua Mian had just started when Chin Chu interrupted her. Su Yu smiled. "Don't worry, I've already contacted them. Just do as I say. Unfortunately, you can only watch the ceremony and can't go on stage. You can't let anyone recognize you either. You just need to tell Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling that you'll be there. You don't have to say anything else." Okay. Upon hearing Su Yu's words, Hua Min felt completely reassured. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, it was the 16th of next month. Huaxia Hotel was surrounded by reporters early in the morning. This was because Gao Ran was the only son of Director Gao. Although he was the captain of the criminal police force, he was still the son of a high-ranking official. Most importantly, the bridesmaid was Ni Yang, a superstar that Imperial Star recently signed for 500 million yuan. The bridesmaid was a little-known nurse named Qin Jia. Hua Min and Zhu Lingling recommended Qin Jia and Ni Yang. Without another word, Zhu Lingling immediately used it. Because of Hua Min, Ni Yang and Qin Jia were very happy and came to rehearse early. Many leaders, high-ranking officials, and famous entrepreneurs from the city and province had come. Wei Liao and his wife, Tang Chuan, Rick, and the others were all present. Hua Xiqin was dressed in a golden suit and appeared especially pompous. When he got out of the Rolls-Royce Phantom, he was accompanied by a big-breasted beauty. Rumor had it that she was the newest rising star of the Hua Corporation. The two of them graciously allowed the media to take photos of them as they walked inside. Su Yu, on the other hand, came in with Wei Liao and the others. When he met Hua Xichen, he didn't say anything. Mayor Song had also arrived, along with his younger brother. Quite a number of people from the Song family had come. Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling's wedding was very grand. Just as the bride was about to enter the stage, Zhu Lingling received a WeChat message in the dressing room. It was from Huamin. Lingling, I'm at the hotel. I'm in the crowd. Because of my special status, I can't show my face. But I will personally witness your happiness. Don't worry about me. Zhu Lingling excitedly held her phone and replied, Thank you, Mian. It was already very good that Huamin was able to come to this stage. Zhu Lingling thought that Huamin wouldn't be able to come out. Because of the attack last time, Siyu was furious. Since then, Huamin had never left the Su family mansion. But now, as she was lost in thought, Chen Jia opened the door and walked in. She held up Zhu Lingling's wedding dress. Lingling, it's time. The ceremony is about to start, okay, let's go. Zhu Lingling wore a white dress and exquisite makeup. With the help of her bridesmaid, Chen Jia, she walked to the door. Romantic music slowly began to play. As the MC's emotional confession continued, Zhu Lingling walked step by step towards Gao Ran, who was standing in the middle of the stage. More than 500 people quietly watched the ceremony. Hua Xichen lowered his head and ordered the person beside him, find a chance to get the woman beside Siyu to me. She should be Mian. Siyu sure is something, he's brave enough to bring her out. Ha! Okay, boss, I understand. Chapter 1697. It turned out that a girl had appeared beside Suyu out of nowhere. She was wearing a black top hat and a black dress. Her head was very low, and she looked very sneaky. It was impossible to see her face clearly. However, her figure was very similar to Huamin's. She followed Suyu closely, and it seemed like Suyu was very nervous about her. No one else noticed, but Hua Xichen did. Zhu Lingling was Huamin's best friend since they were young. There was no way Huamin wouldn't come to her wedding. Therefore, Hua Xichen made up his mind to kidnap her. On the stage, the MC asked the newlyweds to stand face to face. Gao Ran looked at the woman across from him, and his heart raced. Zhu Lingling was shockingly beautiful today. She was so stunning that he couldn't bear to look away for even a second. Groom, do you have anything you want to say to the bride? Now is the best time to confess. After the MC asked, Gao Ran, who was dressed in a black suit, picked up the microphone. He looked at Zhu Lingling excitedly and said, Poison Tongue Ling, after all these years, I've finally married you. I've gotten rid of a scourge for the people. I don't want you to harm other men in the future. I want to tell you, from now on, you can be my scourge. I'm not afraid. Come on, ravage me. After Gao Ran finished his confession, the entire audience burst into laughter. The parents sitting in the first row also had awkward looks on their faces. Zhu Lingling laughed with tears in her eyes. She knew that Gao Ran was teasing her on purpose. Before the MC could say anything, Gao Ran put away the smile on his face and became serious. He looked at Zhu Lingling and said, word by word, my dear Lingling, it took us so many years to get to know each other, and then to stay together. The days we spent together are still vivid in my mind. Whether it was your wildness when you were young or your maturity and beauty now, it has always affected me and made me fall head over heels in love. From this moment onwards, you are officially my wife. You trust me wholeheartedly and give me your everything, so I will cherish you, love you, and protect you. I will use our future happiness to prove that you made the right choice today. When we are old and have many children and grandchildren, when we can still walk hand in hand, I will still hold you tightly in my arms like today and treat you like the only treasure in my life. Thank you God for giving me you. I love you forever. After speaking, Gao Ran didn't wait for the MC to speak. He strode over, hugged Zhu Lingling, and kissed her passionately. At this moment, Zhu Lingling's face was covered in tears. Wow, our groom is so romantic. The bride is so touched that she's crying. Everyone, clap. The MC shouted. The crowd erupted, romantic music started playing again. Look at him, look at you. Why didn't you confess so gently back then? Jiang Xiaowei leaned her head against Wei Liao's chest and scolded him with a smile. Why don't we do it again at our son's 1-month-old party? Wei Liao laughed. Go, we can't ruin our son's 1-month-old party. The little guy is the star of the party. Why should we join in the fun? Everyone chatted and laughed, but no one noticed that Su Yu had begun to move. After looking around, Su Yu walked out from a side exit with the woman behind him. Hua Xiqian's people immediately chased after them. Hua Xiqian was also worried and didn't want to mess it up, so he followed them out. Ha! Where's Lord Su? Tang Chuan turned around, but Su Yu was nowhere to be seen. He felt that something was wrong. Chapter 1698. Su Yu brought a mysterious woman to Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran's wedding. This caught the attention of Hua Xiqian and Song Qinghua at the same time. However, there were too many people here, so Song Qinghua didn't have a chance to make a move. However, Hua Xiqian was different. It was rare for him to have an opportunity like this, so he didn't want to miss it. Su Yu and Hua Xiqian walked through the side entrance of the hotel. There weren't many people there. However, as soon as they reached the entrance, they were stopped. Su Yu saw Hua Xiqian appear in front of him. President Hua, what is the meaning of this? Su Yu smiled. Nothing, I just want to invite my little sister Mian to the Hua Corporation for a cup of tea and reminisce about the past. Haha, that's not necessary. I think Hua Min has nothing to say to you. Plus, she won't admit that you're her brother. That's not necessarily true. I think President Su shouldn't make decisions for Mian. Let her do it herself. Sure, you can talk to Mian yourself. I won't stop you. Su Yu smiled. Hua Xiqian stared at the woman behind Su Yu with a complicated expression. So, can you move aside? Tell Mian behind you to come out. I'm sorry, you've got the wrong person. She's not Mian. Su Yu sneered. He confronted Hua Xiqian. Ah. President Su, don't joke around, let's not waste time. After all, we're all busy, aren't we? After speaking, Hua Xiqian waved his hand. The people behind him immediately rushed up. Su Yu grabbed the woman's wrist and took 2 steps back. Hua Xiqian, how dare you steal her? Su Yu was furious. Su Yu, you better not make me do it. I don't want to be rough with Mian either. Plus, you know that her identity is very sensitive right now. She's still on parole for murder. If people find out that she's walking around like this, it won't be good for the Su family, so, you know what to do. Hua Xiqian's intentions were clear. If he threatened Su Yu and Su Yu tried to stop him, Hua Min's identity would be exposed. After all, there were so many reporters here today, there might be paparazzi lurking nearby. Hua Xiqian, you say you love Mian so much? Su Yu stared at him. Of course. I'm different from you guys. To me, she's the person I cherish the most in the world. I won't let anything happen to her. Of course. I don't need your protection. Mian came back to me. I'm just returning her to her rightful owner. After speaking, Hua Xiqian ignored Su Yu's resistance and gave an order. Go, I have to take Mian away today. The people behind him immediately rushed up. Su Yu wasn't someone to be trifled with either, and he began to fight with them. Su Yu was extremely agile, and his punches were extremely fast, almost 1 punch per person. However, he was only one person, so he was distracted. Hua Xiqian took the opportunity to grab the woman behind Su Yu and pull her into his arms. Mian! Su Yu nervously exclaimed. Before Su Yu could react, Hua Xiqian dragged the woman into a black SUV by the side of the road and quickly left. The people who were fighting with Su Yu immediately retreated as well. At this moment, Su Yu wasn't in a hurry to chase after them. Instead, he took out a wet towel from his pocket and wiped his hands. Then, he smiled. Inside the RV, Hua Xiqian hugged the woman in the back seat of the car. He couldn't suppress his nervousness and excitement. He hugged her tightly and whispered into her ear, "Mian, I miss you so much." Chapter 1699. He saw the woman lower her head even more after hearing what he said. Hua Xiqian thought that Huamin was nervous and scared. Therefore, he patted the back of her hand and comforted her. "Don't be scared, I won't hurt you. No one will ever hurt you again." However, just as he was patting the back of the woman's hand, he suddenly noticed a fatal problem. There was a red mole on the back of the woman's hand. However, Huamin didn't have one. After interacting with Huamin so many times, Huamin's hands were always clean. But suddenly, Hua Xiqian felt a chill run down his spine. He suddenly lifted the black hat on the woman's head. He was dumbfounded. This woman wasn't Huamin. Instead, she was Su Yu's artiste, Mian, who was a B-list actress. President Hua. Mian was extremely scared. "Why are you here?" Hua Xiqian's face was extremely gloomy, as if he wanted to kill someone at any moment. I don't know. President Hua, if you want to sign me to the Hua Corporation, you can talk to my agent. Mian was so scared that she couldn't speak properly. "Stop the car!" Hua Xiqian suddenly yelled. The driver slammed on the brakes and stepped on it. Hua Xiqian suddenly opened the car door and pushed Mian out, slamming her onto the ground. He didn't care about her at all. Mian cried out in pain. "Boss, what happened?" Hua Xiqian's subordinates were also dumbfounded. "We fell into a trap. Su Yu tricked us," Hua Xiqian said through gritted teeth. "Then we have to go back and check out the scene. Is Miss Hua there?" "What's the point of going back now? She's long gone." Hua Xiqian hated himself for being too careless. He didn't think that Su Yu would use this trick. Su Yu found someone who looked like Huamin and tried to pass off the fake as the real one. So where was the real Huamin? He was probably still at the scene right now. However, Hua Xiqian didn't have a chance to make his move, because Su Yu was definitely more prepared. After Mian was pushed out of the car, she endured the pain and called Su Yu. "Hello. President Su, it's over. He found out that I'm a fake and pushed me out of the car. Okay, thank you for your hard work. You can act in the movie that the company is going to start filming next month," Su Yu said faintly. Mian. Su Yu had given her everything from a hostess to a celebrity. At first, like many other women, she wanted to seduce Su Yu. Even if it was just to be his bed partner, she would not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of her life. Later, she found out that even an outstanding woman like Jian Tong couldn't get Su Yu, let alone herself. Therefore, Mian gradually had the foresight to keep a low profile. This time, Su Yu's assistant, Shaoan, contacted her and asked her to pretend to be Huamin and follow Su Yu around. It might even be a little dangerous, so she agreed without hesitation. She knew that Su Yu wouldn't mistreat her. Sure enough, it didn't matter if he was injured, but he still got what he wanted. Su Yu finished the call and let out a sigh of relief. After dealing with Hua Xiqian, there was nothing else to consider. No matter how brave Mayor Song was, he wouldn't dare to make a move on Huamin at a time like this. Su Yu turned around and returned to the hotel. The ceremony was still ongoing. Chapter 1700. And stood in an inconspicuous spot in the middle of the crowd. He was wearing a leather jacket. Beside him stood someone who was also wearing a black leather jacket. Just like this person was dressed like a man. However, this person was thin and small, he had a black baseball bat on his head, and there was no makeup on his face at all. However, he still looked pretty good. Hwamin was disguised as a man and was brought to the center of the crowd by an early on. Siyu brought cotton candy with him to confuse the crowd. No one would have thought that Siyu wasn't by Hwamin's side to protect her. Instead, he handed her over to An. Just then, An looked at his watch. Miss Hwa, it's about time. The crowd will disperse soon. The food will be served. Then, I understand. Let's go now. Hwamin's voice was very low. She had already arrived at the scene and witnessed Lingling's happiness with her own eyes. To be honest, Hwamin was so touched that she cried the moment Gao Ran confessed his love for her. She suddenly thought that if only Chin Chu was here, they could watch their happiness together. She also wanted to have such a beautiful and dreamy wedding. If it weren't for that incident, she might have had a wedding with Chin Chu. But now, there was nothing left, so many things had happened in a row. Until now, Hwamin still felt like she was in a dream. She quietly followed in and got into the black Hummer that had been prepared beforehand from the back door of the hotel. Hummers were military vehicles in the United States, so they were custom-made and bulletproof. This was a car that Suyu had personally chosen. He was afraid that the gunfight from last time would happen again. When Hwamin got into the car, Suyu was already waiting for her. When she got into the car, Suyu immediately handed her a bottle of water. Here, drink some. Okay. Hwamin took the water and drank a few sips. Then, she quietly looked out the window. The atmosphere was a little heavy. Did you cry? Suyu tilted his head and looked at Hwamin, whose eyes were slightly red. Yeah. I was touched by Gao Ran. What he said was so touching. Lingling is very happy. You're pregnant, so you have to control your emotions and think about the babies. I know. Then, Hwamin looked at Suyu. Thank you for your hard work today. You must have put a lot of effort into dealing with Hua Xichen. Before Suyu could speak, An, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, immediately said, President Su, you went through a lot of trouble. You ran all over the place with your body double. Hua Xichen. You had to make it look real so that he fell for it. Suyu of Suyu, Su Hua Su, 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 Su. He didn't want Suyu to tell Hwamin how much effort he put into this because he didn't want Hwamin to feel burdened. He didn't want to give her any pressure. Time always passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, spring left and summer came. Hwamin's belly also started to grow. During the summer, she would wear a maternity dress most of the time. Suyu would still buy a lot of things to eat at home after work every day. Then, he would leave. The Su family's feelings for Hwamin grew deeper and deeper, and they treated her better and better. In late August, Hwamin was already 6 months pregnant. Her body also became heavier and heavier. Gradually, she got used to comforting herself while waiting for Chin Chu's return. August 22nd at around 9:30 p.m. Hwamin took a shower and was about to go to bed when she received a call from Wei Liao. Hwamin is slightly pregnant. When Hwamin was delighted. Chapter 1701. Just now. Oh my God, that's great. Where is she now? She's in our private hospital. That's great. Congratulations on becoming a father, Wei Liao. Hwamin smiled with tears in his eyes. After Zhu Lingling's wedding, this was another joyous event in their circle. Thank you. Xiaowei didn't want you to worry, so she told me to call you first. Oh. I'm so happy that I forgot to ask. Is Xiaowei's baby a boy or a girl? Huamin, you're confused. We knew the gender when she was slightly pregnant. It's a boy. Ha ha ha, look at me, pregnancy really makes me stupid. No wonder she said slightly that I'm not as smart as I used to be. Huamin laughed mockingly. Was it a natural birth or a C-section? Natural birth, 6 kilograms, both mother and child are safe. That's great. I want to see her. Slightly, it's not convenient for you to go out right now, so I don't want you to go. You can come back during the full month party, but I can live stream it for you to feel at ease. After speaking, Wei Liao switched his phone to video mode. Huamin looked at the other end of the video as Wei Liao pointed the camera at the baby. He was wrapped in a blanket and curiously looking at the world in his crib. Huamin's gaze instantly softened, his maternal instincts overflowed. Wow. He's so cute. His eyes are so big and black. Does he look like me or slightly? Wei Liao asked with a smile. Right now, he looks more like you, but I don't know what he'll look like in a few months, honey. I want to talk to Mian. Jiang Xiaowei was lying on the hospital bed, her breathing weak. She had just gone through a big labor, and it was indeed exhausting. Wei Liao immediately pointed the camera at Jiang Xiaowei, slightly. Thank you for your hard work. You finally met the baby. Huamin looked at her with a smile. Mian, if you were at that time, you should have done a C-section. Natural childbirth is too fucking hard. It hurts so much. Luckily, my son was born in less than 5 hours. The woman next door to me screamed for the whole night but hasn't given birth yet. My heart ached when I heard that. You have 2 babies, so please don't give birth naturally. Jiang Xiaowei was the first to experience the pain of a natural birth, therefore, he warned Huamin that he should choose to perform a cesarean. Perhaps he would feel more comfortable. Slightly. Don't worry. Although I've never given birth before. I've worked in the OB/GYN department for so long. I know everything. Although it's painful, it's also the greatest thing. Before the C-section surgery, everyone gave birth this way. Although it's more dangerous, I still want to give birth naturally. I think that as long as a woman goes through the pain of giving birth naturally, then no difficulties will be able to defeat her in the future. Of course, I'm just talking about it now. When it's time for me to give birth, I don't know if the conditions will allow it. Okay. You're an authoritative doctor, you have a point, slightly. Rest well, what you need the most right now is rest. Let the confinement nanny take good care of you, don't worry, I'm fine. I'll be back to full health soon. How does it feel to be a mother? Huamin asked. To be honest. When I heard his cries, I wanted to cry too. I don't know why, but I was inexplicably touched. That's normal, every mother has this reaction. In a few days, before Huamin could finish, Jiang Xiaowei interrupted him. Chapter 1702. Don't, it's too inconvenient for you to go out right now. The later you get, the more worried we'll be. How about this, there might be a lot of people at the 1-month party, so it'll be hard for you to come out. After I'm done with my confinement, we'll drive to the Su family to find you. How can I do that? Huamin felt a little guilty. You don't have to be so polite with me. We just want to protect you. It's a deal. Okay, get some rest then. After hanging up, Huamin had another sleepless night. The next morning when she went downstairs for breakfast, she saw Siu coming home. You're so early today. Yeah, I heard that fruits taste really good in the morning. I just went to the vineyard and picked some rose grapes for you. Wei Liao said that Jiang Xiaowei ate them all the time when she was pregnant, and it's really good. His baby's eyes are really beautiful. You should eat some too, Okay. Huamin thought that Su Yu was really funny sometimes. He would think of all sorts of weird things. At breakfast, only Mrs. Su, Huamin, and Su Yu were there. Mrs. Su. Xiaowei gave birth last night. Huamin chatted casually. Wei Liao's wife, right? Mrs. Su smiled gently. Huamin nodded. Wei Liao's wife is Huamin's best friend. It was a coincidence that they met. They're a match made in heaven. Su Yu interjected. Oh, that's great. Is it a boy or a girl? A boy, 6 kilograms, Huamin and Su Yu said at the same time. It was really amazing. After they finished speaking, they were slightly surprised. They looked at each other and smiled. The Wei family is really happy this time. It seems like the 1-month party is coming soon. We all have to go. I'm the child's godfather. Not only do I have to go, but I also have to give him a big gift. Otherwise, old Wei won't let me off the hook. Have you thought about what to give it to? Huamin looked at Su Yu while eating the porridge. Back then, I said that if it was a girl, I would give her diamonds as her dowry. Now that it's a boy, I'm going to give him a fucking Lamborghini. Ha! Then you're going to have to spend a lot of money, but it's nothing to you. Huamin chuckled. At this moment, Su Yu bit her lower lip and looked at Huamin hesitantly. Then, he said slowly, when your twins are born, I'll send them as well. If they're girls, I'll send them a cruise ship. So that when they walk, they can sit on the ship and ride the waves. In the future, they won't have to be afraid of the difficulties and hardships in life. That won't do, it's too valuable. Huamin refused immediately. What's valuable about it? He has plenty of money. Let him do it, Mother Su interrupted. Ha, Mom, am I your son? This has nothing to do with being my son. It's your fault for being rich. After speaking, Mother Su rolled her eyes at Su Yu. Su Yu was speechless. Huamin snickered. Su Yu continued, if it's a boy, I'll give him a private jet. When he can walk, he can fly in the blue sky. He'll be as strong as an eagle. He'll fight everywhere. That sounds like a good idea. It's settled then, Mother Su said before Huamin could refuse. Time always flew by so quickly. When Huamin was 7 months pregnant, Jiang Xiaowei's baby was 1 month old. The party was set to be held in 3 days, but Huamin couldn't attend. So, Wei Liao and Jiang Xiaowei drove to the Su family's house. Mother Su bought a lot of delicious food for the couple. Tang Chuan also came. Lord Su and Mr. Su weren't home, so Su Yu played host to everyone. Huamin's 7-month-old body was a little heavy. He walked very slowly and carefully. Su Yu wanted to go up and help him. Everyone saw how nervous he was for Huamin. Huamin sat on the sofa and held the baby in his arms. Hi, baby, do you know me? I'm your auntie. Auntie Mian. Huamin played with the baby. Chapter 1703. Son, did you see that? This is your auntie with the highest IQ. She's a genius who's even smarter than your mom. Wei Liao joked. Not anymore. She's a lot dumber now that she's pregnant. Huamin chuckled. Jiang Xiaowei immediately said. Me too. I don't know what's wrong with me. I didn't even get anesthesia during the natural birth. Why do I feel like my teacher is going east and west? My memory is deteriorating. If this goes on, the bureau won't let me go back to work. I'll have to bribe Captain Gao that day. Hey, by the way, why aren't Gao Ran and Tang Ling here? Today. Gao Ran finally got his New Year's break, so he went to Tibet with Ling Ling. Huamin chuckled. Yeah, she sent me a WeChat message. She said she'll be back tomorrow night for the baby's 1-month birthday party, Jiang Xiaowei said. Have you named the baby? Yes, just slightly, Wei Liao replied. What's his name? Su Yu leaned over and asked curiously. Wei Yinchu. Jiang Xiaowei said word by word. Wei Yinchu, that's a weird name. What does it mean? Su Yu was puzzled. Before Jiang Xiaowei could answer, Huamin held the baby and gently rocked him, coaxing him. He said softly, once in Gaoqing, 10,000 miles of sorrow. Reeds and willows like Tingzhou. Clouds rise above the stream, the sun sinks in the pavilion. Winds sweep the tower before the coming storm. That's a good name. Little Yunchu will be amazing in the future. Huamin explained Jiang Xiaowei's son's name in a Tang poem. Jiang Xiaowei immediately gave him a thumbs up. In this life, I won't bow down to anyone but you. How did you even know this? That's amazing. Indeed, when I was in university, I really liked Tang poems and did a lot of research. Among them, I especially liked this poem by Su Han, the east building of Xianyang City, especially the 2 lines in the middle. The clouds have just risen, the sun has sunk into the pavilion, the wind has filled the tower before the storm. So when I saw the baby, I suddenly thought of the name Wei Yunchu. Huamin smiled and didn't say anything. He seemed to understand Jiang Xiaowei's state of mind. What are they talking about? I don't understand. Tang Chuan, who hated studying, didn't know what they were talking about. Normal people like us don't need to understand the conversation between geniuses, just listen. Wei Liao smiled. Oh right, I suddenly thought of something. Where's my son's present? Wei Liao turned around and looked at Su Yu. Su Yu took out a key from his pocket and placed it on the table. Fuck. Lamborghini. Lord Su spent a lot on it. Tang Chuan stomped his feet. Don't worry, when you have a son, I'll give you one too. Su Yu looked at Tang Chuan quietly and said. I knew Lord Su was always rich. He doesn't lack money. Tang Chuan said flatteringly. Then, Su Yu's next sentence made everyone dumbfounded. When my son is born, you too can return the gift. You don't have to give me a lot, just a Bugatti each. Tang Chuan, fuck. Wei Liao, fuck. A Lamborghini worth over 3 million yuan and a Bugatti worth over 20 million yuan. Lord Su, you're too calculative. Wei Liao laughed. You see, all businessmen are cunning. Let's stop chatting and eat. I'll hold the baby, you guys eat first. Mrs. Su walked over. Auntie Su, it's okay, I'll do it myself. Jiang Xiaowei was a little embarrassed. No, I love kids. It's rare to see a baby this big. I'll hold him, you guys eat. Then, Mrs. Su lovingly picked up Wei Liao's baby and walked around the living room. Her eyes were full of love. Tang Chuan looked at Mrs. Su holding the baby and suddenly said, when Lord Su has a child, the Su family will celebrate. So, Lord Su, when are you going to get married and have kids? Don't make Auntie Su wait too long. After he said that, he noticed a subtle change in everyone's expression. Chapter 1704. Su Yu immediately rolled his eyes at Tang Chuan. What nonsense are you talking about? Why would I get married? I'm more likely to faint. I'm just imagining a beautiful future for you. Tang Chuan smiled cheekily. Do I need your imagination? Do you think I'm an idiot? Get the fuck back to the table and find your seat to eat. Su Yu kicked Tang Chuan's butt jokingly. Then, everyone looked at Su Yu and understood his awkwardness. Then, they looked at Huamin and also felt uncomfortable. The smart Jiang Xiaowei immediately changed the topic. She pulled Huamin's hand and said, Mian, don't you think my son is too unlucky? He was born on the tail of a Leo. Seriously, go ahead and be happy, sis-in-law. Your young master almost became a Virgo, Tang Chuan interrupted again. There's nothing wrong with being a Virgo, don't insult my virginity. Huamin pursed her lips and laughed. Then, Huamin looked at Jiang Shaowei and smiled slightly. There's nothing wrong with being a Leo, it's such a gorgeous constellation. Come on. Leo is the most domineering of the 12 constellations. Normal people can't handle it. No, I think it's pretty good, especially for boys. The older they get, the more radiant they'll be. They'll be like leaders. They're just little lions. Although they're domineering, they're super passionate and cute. I hope so. Jiang Shaowei didn't say anything else. She pulled Huamin to the dining table and sat down. It had been a long time since they had a quiet meal together. Mrs. Su prepared a lot of delicious food, and everyone ate to their heart's content. Because it was a natural birth, Jiang Shaowei's figure recovered very well. After they finished eating and left, Huamin was a little tired. Seeing her tired, Su Yu immediately said, I'll take you upstairs for a nap. All right. Huamin walked in front while Su Yu silently followed behind him. He was very focused, afraid that Huamin would have any mishap. After returning to the room, seeing that Su Yu was about to leave, Huamin immediately shouted, Su Yu. I want to pray to Buddha, worship Buddha. Su Yu was stunned. Yeah. The temple that Qin Chu and I went to before is quite far from here. But I really like it and want to go there again. But with your current physical condition, are you sure you can still go up the mountain to worship Buddha? Su Yu looked at Huamin's delicate face worriedly. I can walk slowly, I'll be fine. Trust me, Su Yu, I know my physical condition. I'm not that weak. I'm also a doctor, I know what I'm doing, Huamin said confidently. Su Yu still didn't say anything. He lowered his head and thought about how to make sure nothing went wrong. Are you worried that I'll be targeted like last time when I went to see Rick? Huamin asked when Su Yu didn't say anything. Yes, I can't take any more risks. I won't let anything happen to you. Su Yu raised his head and looked at Huamin seriously. Don't worry. After you lured him away last time, Huasiqian is a very suspicious person. He won't do anything so easily. Even if he finds out that we're going to pray to Buddha, he might think that you're using the same trick again, so he won't fall for it. As for Song Yisher's father, he probably won't do anything either. I know Huasiqian better, so I believe your analysis. But as for Song Qinghua, how do you know that he won't do anything again? Su Yu questioned Huamin's words. Chapter 1705. I've been paying attention to the news these past few days. Song Qinghua's frequency of leaving the country has decreased by 1/3 compared to before. This isn't normal. Even if he occasionally shows up on camera, he's always in a hurry. I'm guessing that he's in some kind of trouble. He also went to Lingling's wedding, but he didn't do anything. First of all, he didn't dare to do anything in front of so many people. Second of all, he probably can't even protect himself, so he doesn't have time to deal with me. Also, you have to know that the last time something happened to me, it was in the middle of the night. Back then, there were very few people. Now that we're traveling in the daytime, there are cameras and highways everywhere. I don't think a mayor like him would have the guts to do something like that. What do you think? After Huamin finished speaking, he looked at Su Yu confidently. Your analysis does make sense, but it's just your guess. Lin Fan said. Su Yu still didn't want Huamin to go out. Su Yu, I'm begging you. Huamin's voice was very soft, and his eyes were pleading. Su Yu couldn't resist Huamin at all. As soon as he saw the look in Huamin's eyes, he would immediately give in. You don't have to beg me. I don't want you to go out, I'm just worried about your safety. But if you want, I'll definitely go with you, thank you. Huamin smiled slightly. Oh right, don't tell Auntie Sue and the others, I don't want them to worry. Huamin repeatedly reminded him, I know, when do you plan to go? Tomorrow morning, a little earlier. We'll leave at dawn. Is that okay? Sure, I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning. After Siyu finished speaking, he turned around and went downstairs. Huamin placed his hand on his belly, and gently stroked it. Be good, babies. Come with mommy to the temple tomorrow and see the wishes your daddy wrote down, okay? Huamin's gaze drifted into the distance. The last time she went with Qin Chu, it felt like it was just yesterday. Everything was still vivid in her mind. She left with 3 wishes, kowtowing every 3 steps. Qin Chu was an atheist, but in order to accompany her, he kowtowed every 3 steps. With incomparable sincerity, the couple climbed to the top of the mountain and wrote down their wishes. Then, they tied it to the wishing tree with a blessing ribbon. At that time, Huamin didn't read what Qin Chu wrote. He just felt that one day, his wish would come true. The couple would return together to fulfill their vows. Then, they would see, but now, there was no news of Qin Chu, and his return was far away. Spring left and summer came. The babies were about to be born, but there was still no news of him. Huamin was in despair, she didn't know what to do. When people were in a desperate situation and didn't know what to do, they would pin their hopes on the gods. The last time Huamin went to ask for a child, he already had a child. His wish had been fulfilled. This time, she was going to beg Bodhisattva to return her Qin Chu to her. She didn't want anything, not even the child. Even if she had to sacrifice anything, even her own life, she wanted Qin Chu to come back. Huamin couldn't sleep that night. She took out the diary from the drawer, took out a pen, and slowly wrote, "This is the 6th month and 5th day of my pregnancy. The babies are moving more frequently. There are movements on both sides of the bed. I can tell that the babies are very lively and active. Mr. Qin, if you're home, you must tell me to be patient. There are only a few more months until we can unload." I also gave them prenatal education. Originally, I was listening to the piano music from Hayao Miyazaki's manga, but for some reason, it turned into those years. Then, my thoughts returned to the time when I was young with you at second high. Those innocent days of youth. So, when will you come back? The babies and I are waiting for you. By the time she wrote this, Huamin's tears had completely soaked the diary. Chapter 1706. After she got pregnant, she wasn't as strong as before. She was very emotional and liked to cry. She didn't know if it was because she was too weak, or because she was a mother and her heart was too fragile. In the end, Huamin cried quietly for a long time before carefully putting away the diary. She wanted to record everything that happened during her pregnancy. If Mr. Qin came back one day, she would show it to him. He would read it page by page. She wanted him to feel how she and the babies lived without him. 5 a.m. in the morning, the sky had just turned bright. Siyu came back early with a sumptuous breakfast. Auntie Yu and Mrs. Su were still asleep. After Huamin and Suyu finished their breakfast, they quietly left the house. Although they were going out quietly, Siyu was fully prepared. There were a total of 3 cars. There were powerful bodyguards protecting the front and back. Huamin and Suyu sat in the black Hummer in the middle. The 3 cars drove off on the highway at the same time. When Huasiqian received the news, it was already 8 a.m. He arrived at the company and was about to go to the Hua Corporation's morning meeting. Then, he saw his subordinate rushing in with a report. "Boss, there's news about Miss Hua." "Speak." Hua Xiqian's face darkened. Last time, he was played by Su Yu and was very unhappy. He had been suppressing his anger. At 6 a.m. this morning, Su Yu left the city with a lot of people. I don't know where they're going. Miss Hua was also in the car. Did you see it clearly? Hua Xiqian asked. It was too far away. Su Yu's people are too smart, so we didn't dare to get close. We only saw it through binoculars and took some photos secretly. But we're sure that it was a thin woman, because she was wearing black sportswear, a black baseball cap, and sunglasses. Idiot. Last time, you said the same thing and said it was Mian. What happened in the end? Hua Xiqian no longer trusted his subordinate's information, but boss, I think this time it's really, I don't want you to think it's. I want accurate information. I can't be played by Su Yu again. We can't take the risk. If Su Yu lured us away again, we'll be in trouble. We'll be exposed. You know that kidnapping Commander Su's grandson isn't a small crime. Boss is right, we didn't think it through. Hua Xiqian's subordinate, after all, how are things with Song Qinghua? It's going well. I'm just waiting for you to say the word. Hua Xiqian, Hua Mian, Hua Zzzz, Hua what? TSSS, TTS. To Hua Xiqian, no matter how beautiful the world was, it could not compare to Hua Min's faint smile. Unfortunately, his way of doing things was too cruel and merciless, which always ran counter to Hua Min's natural kindness. Hua Min's analysis was right. Hua Xiqian was scared. It wasn't that he was afraid of Su Yu's strength, but he was afraid that he would be played by Su Yu again. He had actually missed a good opportunity to make his move. However, Su Yu was no ordinary person. He would never bring Hua Min out unless he was fully prepared. Even if Hua Xiqian really did bring people here, it would not be that easy to kidnap them. They arrived safely at the location of the sighting. Before getting out of the car, Su Yu looked at Hua Min with admiration. It seems that you guessed right. They really didn't do anything. Hua Min smiled faintly. Let's go up. Hua Min couldn't wait any longer. He wondered what Qin Chu's blessing belt would say. That seemed to be the most attractive thing Qin Chu had left for her. Chapter 1707. Don't tell me you're going to kowtow every 3 steps this time. Su Yu looked at the tall stairs and looked at Hua Min worriedly. Hua Min burst out laughing. What are you laughing at? Su Yu was confused. I'm laughing at you. Why do you keep asking such childish questions? The stairs are so tall, and I'm about to give birth. Why would I kowtow every 3 steps? Wouldn't that kill me and the babies? That might not be the case. You know you're a weirdo, and you're always different from ordinary people. That won't happen, I know what's important. Then, Hua Min turned around, carefully looked down at the stairs, and walked up step by step. Su Yu immediately followed behind her. It was as if he was afraid that something would happen to her. Hua Min's stamina wasn't as good as before, so she couldn't go up in one go. She could only take breaks. Finally, an hour and a half had passed by the time she reached the temple at the top of the mountain. Here, drink some water. Su Yu handed her a thermos flask. It was filled with warm water from home. Ever since Hua Min moved into the Su family's house, Su Yu didn't allow her to drink mineral water. The reason was that it contained too many minerals. Therefore, she had been using the water purifier that the Su family custom-made overseas. Hua Min took the flask and drank 2 big gulps. Then, she looked down the mountain from the top of the mountain. Is it the same as when you came here last time? Su Yu asked casually. It's the same. It's not that different. Hua Min actually wanted to say that the people around her were different. However, she wouldn't say it so bluntly. Although she didn't like Su Yu, she didn't want to hurt Su Yu's feelings by saying things like that. The longer she stayed, the more she realized that Suyu was full of good points. Min didn't think that the rumors about Suyu being a money-burning, hot-tempered, and domineering prince weren't right at all. In Min's eyes, Suyu was already the most considerate man in the world. He always warmed Min's heart when she needed help the most. The most tragic thing was that she had never loved him. Many times, Min asked himself if he would have fallen in love with Suyu if he hadn't met Chin Chu first. The answer was that there were no ifs in life, only consequences and results. Therefore, Min didn't want to make any assumptions. Min and Suyu entered the temple. At this time of the day, the weather was pleasant. Even if it was not a Buddhist festival, the fragrance was still at its peak. Suyu's bodyguards were not far behind them. Mian wore a white cotton dress with a thin shawl draped over her shoulders. Suyu was still wearing a white Versace short-sleeved shirt and a pair of coffee-colored casual pants. The two of them were a good-looking couple. Many people who didn't know better would have thought that they were a couple. Some nosy old men and women even walked over and asked curiously, "Young man, how far along is your wife?" Suyu's cheeks immediately turned slightly red. He was too embarrassed to answer. Min, on the other hand, was very calm. "She's been pregnant for more than 6 months. So big. You're about to give birth. You have to take care of your body. Don't overwork yourself, it's easy for you to give birth prematurely," a kind old woman advised. "Thank you, Auntie." Min smiled faintly. "Look at her belly. The babies must be very big. It's going to take a lot of effort to give birth. Miss, you should eat less and control your weight," the old woman kindly advised. "Auntie, she's pregnant with twins. That's why her belly is so big." Suyu couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 1708. Whoa, twins, your wife is amazing. You have to treat her better in the future. A woman's life isn't easy. What's that saying again? A woman is a princess for a day, a queen for 10 months, and a maid for the rest of her life. She's only a princess on her wedding day, and a queen for 10 months. Once the child is born, oh my. Not only will her figure be out of shape, but she'll also have to spend a lot of energy taking care of the child. The auntie chattered on and on. Min smiled and added, "Auntie, you're right. A child is a parent's eternal bond. Give your love to your child for the rest of your life, just to be able to call you Mom and Dad." Min used a lyric from Where Has Time Gone? After chatting with the auntie for a while, Suyuk helped Min inside. They walked to the wishing tree. Min raised his head and looked at the blessings on the tree. "Which one are you looking for? Did you write it yourself?" Suyu asked. "No, I'm looking for Chin Chu," Min said calmly. "Got it, I'll help you." Then, without another word, Suyu immediately walked over and started searching from the bottom. Then, he stood on the roots and tiptoed to look at the top. After searching for more than 20 minutes, she finally found Chin Chu's prayer ribbon among the thousands of prayer ribbons. Chin Chu's name was written on it. Chin Chu's handwriting was very beautiful. Suyuk carefully took it down and didn't even have time to look at it. Then, he handed it to Min. Min couldn't wait to open it and look at Chin Chu's familiar handwriting. In an instant, his heart was filled with gratitude. Because the blessing ribbon wasn't big, there was limited space. Chin Chu deliberately reduced the size of the words and wrote 3 wishes on it. After Min saw Chin Chu's words, he broke down. She couldn't stop her tears, and they started to fall down her cheeks. Suyu, who was watching from the side, started to panic. "Min, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" Suyu walked over and asked. Min didn't say anything, but his eyes were filled with tears. Suyu couldn't help but grab the prayer ribbon from Min's hand. When he saw Chin Chu's 3 wishes, he was stunned. Because that was what was written on it. Chin Chu and Huamin together forever, Chin Chu and Huamin together forever, Chin Chu and Huamin together forever. So Chin Chu's 3 wishes were all related to Huamin. They were all to be with Huamin forever, but now, they didn't even know if Chin Chu was alive or dead. A few months had passed, and there was no news at all. How could Huamin not feel despair when his body couldn't be found? Suyu held the blessing ribbon and was thinking about how to comfort Huamin, who was about to break down. Suddenly, he saw her turn around and run. Huamin, where are you going? Come back. Suyu was scared out of his wits. He realized that things were bad and immediately chased after her. Although Huamin's body was clumsy, he was familiar with the terrain, so he ran quite fast. After running for a few dozen steps, he suddenly stopped at a place. Then, Huamin slowly approached. Suyu looked at him and instantly, his face turned pale. Huamin was standing on the edge of a cliff. There were no protective railings. Below was a cliff that was hundreds of meters high. Anyone who fell down would be smashed to pieces. Suyu saw that Huamin was very emotional as he slowly approached the edge of the cliff. Suyu was scared out of his wits. Huamin, what are you doing? Suyu roared angrily. Chapter 1709. Suyu. I want to be with Chin Chu forever. Huamin turned around with red eyes and looked at Suyu. He said each word in a hoarse voice. Ridiculous. You don't have to jump off a cliff to be with him forever. Do you want to die? Besides, didn't you say that not hearing from Chin Chu was good news? He'll come back. Huamin, don't do anything stupid. Chin Chu won't come back. If he's not dead, he would have come back to find me a long time ago. It's not like I haven't heard from him for months. Suyu, I don't want to lie to myself anymore. I'm so tired. I'm not happy at all. I want to find Chin Chu. Mian, even if you don't want to think about yourself, you have to think about the babies in your belly. They're so pitiful, they haven't even been born yet. Are you so heartless as to not give them a chance to be born? Huamin cried and shook his head. I want to take my babies and meet Chin Chu in the afterlife. Then, our family will be together forever. What if Chin Chu isn't dead? Wouldn't you have jumped off a cliff for nothing? Then, how would Chin Chu bear the pain of losing you? Huamin, calm down. You're so smart, you can see the situation clearly. Don't be rash. Suyu regretted bringing Huamin here. If he knew this would happen, he would have rejected him directly. Even if Huamin was unhappy, at least his life wouldn't be in danger. Right now, Huamin wanted to die. Driven by Chin Chu's 3 wishes, Huamin was ready to kill himself. Suyu. I've been through too much. I think I can't hold on anymore. Let me go. I'll repay your kindness in my next life. After saying that, Huamin jumped. Suyu's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick. He immediately flew over and grabbed Huamin's leg. Then, he was dragged down by Huamin's inertia. Young Master. The bodyguards of the Su family all called him Young Master Suyu. When they saw Suyu being dragged down by Huamin, their hearts almost jumped out of their chests. The pilgrims who came to worship the Buddha also screamed in fright. Oh my God, someone fell down. Quick, call the police and an ambulance. Sounds of disturbance could be heard from the crowd. This was the scene that Suyu's bodyguards saw when they rushed over. Suyu held Huamin tightly in his arms, while his other hand grabbed a tree trunk that was not very thick. Fortunately, his arm strength was very strong. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to hold on. What are you looking at? Hurry up and pull me up. Suyu yelled. The bodyguards immediately took out ropes and threw them down, pulling Suyu and Huamin up. Perhaps he was overstimulated. The moment Huamin jumped down, he blacked out. outside the VIP emergency room of the military hospital. When Mrs. Su heard the commotion, she immediately rushed over from home. How is she? How's Mian? I don't know yet, she's still in the emergency room. Suyu held his head in frustration, blaming himself for everything. If something happened to Huamin, what would he do? How could he forgive himself? Mrs. Su angrily punched Suyu's shoulder. Are you stupid? She's already a few months pregnant, and you still let her climb a mountain. You even brought her up the mountain. What if she loses the baby? Poor Mian. It's all my fault. If I knew this would happen, I would have stopped you. Mrs. Su began to cry quietly at the thought of Huamin and the baby being in danger. After taking care of Huamin for so long, they were very close. She had always treated him like family. She didn't even dare to think about what would happen if something happened. Just then, the lights in the emergency room went off. The attending doctor walked out with a mask on his face. How is it? Doctor, how is she? Suyu immediately rushed up and grabbed the doctor's sleeve. He looked nervous, and his heart was in his throat. Chapter 17:10. Both mother and child are fine. The baby is fine. She's just in shock and needs to rest. Upon hearing the doctor's words, Mrs. Su and Suyu immediately let out a sigh of relief. But, young Master Su, Miss Hua's condition is a bit special. I hope you can come to my office with me. Okay. Suyu nodded. Mom, you go in and take care of Huamin, I'll be back in a bit. Okay. Mrs. Su nodded and followed the nurse to push Huamin from the ER to the hospital room. Suyu followed the attending doctor to her office. The female obstetrician had a serious look on her face. Is there something else wrong with her? Suyu felt that the doctor didn't tell him everything. He was afraid that Huamin was in danger. Miss Hua is out of danger for now. The baby is fine. Don't worry about it, I'm going to talk to you about Miss Hua's mental illness. Mental illness? Suyu was slightly surprised. When we tested her data, we found that her emotions were very unstable. We suspect that she has a mental illness. What do you mean? Prenatal depression, the doctor said without hesitation. Suyu never thought that Huamin, an excellent doctor, would have such strange symptoms. The doctor thought that Suyu didn't understand, so she explained, prenatal depression is when a pregnant woman has unreasonable expectations of her husband or the environment around her due to physical or psychological changes. However, she doesn't achieve her goals, so she keeps suppressing her negative emotions. Eventually, the illness explodes. Today's patient must have been traumatized by something, right? That's why she tried to kill herself. Yeah. Suyu nodded, still regretting bringing Huamin to the temple. Prenatal depression is very scary and shouldn't be ignored. It has to be treated as seriously as depression. No matter how optimistic and cheerful the patient used to be, once she suffers from this illness, she'll become a different person. She might have the following symptoms: anxiety, loss of appetite, lack of sleep, guilt, insecurity, difficulty concentrating. In severe cases, she'll have negative emotions about everything and will think of the worst in everything. This will cause her to lose hope in life and eventually lead to suicide. So, it's very serious. Then, what should we do? Suyu panicked. When Huamin studied psychology, he was a famous psychiatrist at Southside. Now that the psychiatrist knew that she was sick, how could she treat her? We suggest conservative treatment because her current physical condition doesn't allow for it, so we can't use any stimulants. We think we should let her family and friends spend more time with her and talk to her more. Most importantly, the child's father, young Master Su, isn't Miss Hua's husband in the city. Why doesn't he visit her? The doctor didn't know about Huamin's condition, so he didn't know about Qin Chu's situation. Her husband is abroad. He can't come back for some reason. What's more important than your wife and child? What a pregnant woman needs most is company. I think that her husband's absence is the main cause of her prenatal depression. This kind of thing should be taken care of, doctor. Is there any other way? Su Yu was worried. Chapter 17:11. There's nothing we can do. We have to talk to her, spend more time with her, or distract her so that she won't think too much. She'll be due in 2 or 3 months, so it's best not to make any mistakes. Okay, I know what to do. When Su Yu walked out of the doctor's office, his heart was heavy. He didn't know what prenatal depression was. After all, no one around him had it. However, Huamin had suicidal tendencies, which was very scary. Therefore, he called Jiang Xiaowei because Jiang Xiaowei was a well-known psychologist in China. Wei, is your wife at home? Put her on the phone. Su Yu called the Wei family. Su Yu briefly explained what happened to Jiang Xiaowei, and Jiang Xiaowei froze. Mian has prenatal depression, Emichim, that's what the doctor said. It seems like we overlooked it. Mian is so smart and has high standards for herself. She's afraid that people will worry, so she never shows her negative emotions. If she suppresses them for a long time, it will inevitably lead to terrible consequences. It's like, if we use mud to block the flow of water, the water will accumulate and eventually erupt into a flash flood. What should we do now? You're a psychologist, you should have a good idea, right? Su Yu placed his last hope on Jiang Xiaowei. Jiang Xiaowei's heart also ached for Huamin. It's been hard on Mian. She went through so much during her pregnancy, and now Qin Chu is missing. She has to worry about protecting the baby, so she has to live in an unfamiliar environment and be separated from her family. If it were me, I would have gone crazy. Mian's mental fortitude is not bad, she's able to hold on until now. We thought too highly of her and thought that she was a god who wouldn't make mistakes. The truth is, she's just a 25-year-old girl. She's made of flesh and blood, she has emotions, and she has a temper. Su Yu frowned slightly, and his heart also ached for Mian. For an ordinary 25-year-old girl, Huamin had indeed gone through too much. There were too many trials and tribulations, and too many misfortunes, but don't worry, Su Yu. I'll think of a way. Mian can't take drugs now. We'll find another way. Okay, I'll do anything as long as I can help her. Su Yu was also anxious. He wanted to pluck the stars from the sky to comfort Huamian. I think you should go to New Zealand and bring Huamian's mother back. Yeah. That's right. Su Yu was immediately enlightened. Then, Mian's right, Mian, Suze's. We'll take the rest one step at a time. Bring her some positive energy every day. Listen to more music and spread the news of the baby to her. I'll take the baby there when I'm free so that she can understand the greatness of being a mother and the magic of giving birth to a new life. Then, thank you, Xiaowei. Su Yu was very grateful. You're being too polite. Go and take care of Mian. We'll visit her at home tomorrow. Okay. After Huamin's pregnancy was stabilized at the hospital, she was discharged safely the next afternoon and returned to the Su family. She didn't eat much for dinner. Even Lord Su couldn't stand it anymore and reminded her. Girl, you're eating too little. You have to eat more. Lord Su, I don't have much of an appetite. You guys eat. Do you want to play a game of chess? Lord Su wanted to make Huamin happy. Grandpa. I'm tired. Why don't you let me sleep? Why do you want to play chess? Old man, you really don't know how to read people's faces. Hey, you brat, How dare you talk to me like that? Lord Su glared at Su Yu. Huamin stuck out her tongue and smiled, but it was obvious that her smile was very weak. After returning from the hospital, Huamin was a little depressed. She was worried all day and seemed to have lost interest in everything. Su Yu knew that Qin Chu's 3 wishes were a huge blow to Huamin. He tried to coax her, but it didn't work. Just then, the doorbell rang. Su Yu immediately stood up. I'll go open the door. Ha, I think we have guests. Everyone looked at the door curiously. When Yang Meirong appeared, Huamin stood up in surprise. Mom. Her voice trembled. Chapter 17:12. In the next second, Huamin ignored his cumbersome body and jogged over. He hugged Yang Meirong and began to cry. Yang Meirong also hugged Huamin with heartache. Mian, my child, it's been hard on you. Then, they hugged each other and cried. When a person was at their weakest, they would feel much warmer if they had a mother's embrace to comfort them. Although Huamin knew that Yang Meirong wasn't her biological mother, Huamin still owed her a debt of gratitude. However, the kindness of raising her was greater than the heavens. She no longer had any qualms about whether she was her biological daughter. Instead, she truly treated her as family. Did you arrange this? Mrs. Su secretly asked Su Yu. Su Yu nodded. You're not bad. Mion's mother will be much better now that she's back. After the mother and daughter cried, Huamin held his mother's hand and walked over to introduce them. Mom, this is Lord Su, Mrs. Su, and my good friend Su Yu. They're all very good to me. They saved my life. Before Yang Meirong returned to China, Jixin told her the truth without hiding anything. After Yang Meirong found out the truth, she couldn't wait to fly back to her daughter. After hearing Mian's introduction, Yang Meirong let go of her hand and bowed deeply to the Su family. Auntie Yang, what are you doing? Su Yu immediately walked over to help her up. We'll always remember the Su family's great kindness to our Mian. Thank you. Yang Meirong bowed deeply to express her gratitude. You don't have to do that. We treat Mian as our own family, and we all like her very much. Due to the special situation we're in, I hope you won't feel burdened. Just stay here and let Mian give birth safely. That's the most important thing, Grandpa Su said. Yeah. Sis. I'm a little older than you, so I'll call you sister from now on. Mian is a very sensible child, and we all like her very much. You don't have to be so polite. Mrs. Su also walked over. Everyone chatted in the living room for a while. Yang Meirong then helped Huamin back to his room to rest, although it was indeed inconvenient to be in other people's homes. For the sake of Huamin and the children's safety, everyone was accommodating and compromising. Yang Meirong's return put Huamin in a good mood. That night, she even posted something that she hadn't posted in a long time. Of course, in order to protect her whereabouts, she made a special setting so that only a few of her closest relatives could see it. She wrote a sentence: you can withstand the fire and smoke of war, but you can also meet the golden years. Then, Gao Ran, Zhu Lingling, Jiang Xiaowei, Wei Liao, Su Yu, and the others all liked it. In private, Jiang Xiaowei created a group chat. Except for Huamin, everyone else was in it. Jiang Xiaowei, Lord Su, how's Mian's mood today? Auntie is back. Is she happy? Su Yu, she's quite happy. Zhu Lingling, with Auntie by her side, Mian will be much better. She'll give birth soon. Everyone, go and see her. Good luck. Jiang Xiaowei, Lingling, are you pregnant yet? Zhu Lingling, pfft. How can it be so fast? Children and parents need fate. Gao Ran, honey, this sentence sounds familiar. I think I've heard it somewhere before. Zhu Lingling, these are Mian's words. I'm just using it, Wei Liao, anyway, now that Huamin is fine, we're relieved. I hope the babies come out soon, so we don't have to worry about them. Gao Ran, Lord Su, is there any movement from Hua Xiqin? Recently, Su Yu, there's some movement from Hua Xiqin, but it's not directed at us. I think he's going to have a fight with Song Qinghua. Gao Ran, they're going to have a fight. Aren't they good allies? Jiang Shaowei, I think it's probably because of the attack on Hua Xiqin last time. Song Qinghua's vicious methods angered Hua Xiqin. After all, he always thinks he loves Mian. As they chatted, a news notification suddenly flashed on their phones. Zhu Lingling was the first to speak and immediately shouted in surprise, "Wow, it's big news. Look, look." Chapter 17:13. After Zhu Lingling finished speaking, everyone quickly looked down at their phones. The headline of the news read, "Suspected mistress of a high-ranking official exposed, wearing a $1 million watch and carrying a Hermes bag." Then, in the picture, there were two blurry figures. One of them was a young woman with waist-length hair. She wore a white dress and had a sexy figure. Because it was her back, her facial features couldn't be seen clearly. The man who had his arm around the woman's waist looked older, around 50 years old, and his hair was slightly white. His facial features couldn't be seen clearly either, but what made it worse was that not far behind them, an Audi A6 attracted everyone's attention. The license plate number of the car was CR0011. Everyone knew that 0011 was the mayor's personal car. So, a single stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. After the news came out, all the major forums exploded. Everyone was trying to guess who this high-ranking official was. Most of the public was saying that it was Mayor Song. If it was true, then he was in big trouble. After all, he was the mayor of a city. If there was a scandal about his mistress, then it would be interesting. Looks like Hua Xiqin has made his move. I haven't had the chance yet. But that's good, I can add fuel to the fire. Su Yu smiled and then made a call to one of his subordinates. That night, evidence of Mayor Song's shady dealings with some black-hearted businessmen was exposed. There was also evidence of the land expropriation in the suburbs 3 years ago. Because of this, the news became even more intense. His once high and mighty image had fallen by thousands of feet overnight. From that day onward, more than a month of news broke, knocking Mayor Song off his pedestal. He became an official who was plagued by negative rumors. He was about to fall from grace, and he was only one step away. In the blink of an eye, more than a month had passed. Huamin was 8 months and 8 days pregnant. That night, Su Yu came home from work. Song Qinghua is about to be finished. You'll be able to get your revenge soon. Su Yu comforted her. Huamin shook her head. Actually, I don't hate Song Qinghua. It's not because I'm a saint, it's because he thinks that I killed Song Yisher, and that's why he hates me so much. It's natural for a father to love his daughter. In order to save Qin Chu, I took the blame. It's normal for him to hate me. I can understand how he feels. That's why I'm not happy that something happened to him. I understand, but this time, I wasn't the one who started it, I just added fuel to the fire. It was Hua Xiqin's people. I'm not so evil as to drug Mayor Song, seduce him with a young model, and then take photos of him. Su Yu slowly said. But it's true that he's done a lot of bad things over the years. He's definitely not as clean as the rumors say, Su Yu added. Huamin smiled faintly. Of course. What era are we in now? Who would be clean? If he really was, he probably wouldn't be able to get to where he is now. Hungry. Mian's analysis is right. We commoners don't understand politics. Otherwise, your grandpa would have told your dad to run a business instead of being an official. Suyu's mother smiled as she peeled an orange and glanced at Suyu. Suyu reached out and was about to take the orange when Suyu's mother slapped it away. Get off me. Is this for you? It's for Huamin. Then, Suyu's mother handed the orange to Huamin with a smile. Thank you, Auntie. Huamin smiled as she took the orange. Just as she was about to eat it, her expression changed. Then, her hand holding the orange froze. What's wrong, baby? Yang Meirong could tell that Huamin wasn't feeling well, so she immediately got up and walked over. I think her water broke. Huamin's face was filled with panic. No way. She's not even full term yet. It's only been 8 months. Suyu was also confused. Hurry up and drive Mian to the hospital. Hurry. Suyu's mother was the first to react. She grabbed her son by the collar and dragged him out. Chapter 17-14. Suyu panicked as he sped to the hospital in his black Lamborghini. As he drove, he looked at Huamin and asked, Are you okay? Huamin's contractions were already in pain, and beads of sweat slowly rolled down her forehead. I'm okay. I'm fine, don't worry. You, keep holding on. How can you say you're fine at a time like this? I really have to hand it to you. The calmer Huamin looked, the more Suyu's heart ached. Mrs. Su and Huamin's mother sat in the Audi Q7 driven by the Su family's chauffeur and followed them to the hospital. Military hospital. The gynecologist examined Huamin and immediately said, The cervix is 3 fingers wide, let's go to the delivery room. Suyu. I'm so scared. On the way to the delivery room, Huamin grabbed Suyu's hand for the first time. She held onto it tightly, she was really panicking. Suyu had known her for a long time, but this was the first time he saw such panic on her face. At this moment, Huamin's face was pale from the pain, her forehead was covered in sweat, but she gritted her teeth and didn't make a sound. Compared to the pregnant women next door, Huamin was like a tough woman. Because those women were all screaming at the top of their lungs, everyone had different pain points. Huamin had always been an introverted person with a strong backbone, so she wouldn't complain about the pain easily. However, she was scared because she knew that giving birth naturally to twins could be dangerous. There had been cases of women bleeding to death during labor. Huamin was afraid that she wouldn't have a chance to come out. If something happened to her, don't be scared. Huamin, I'll wait for you here. I believe you'll be fine, nothing can stop you. Huamin's breathing was weak, perhaps it was because it was too painful, so his voice started to become softer. Suyu, listen to me. If I don't come out. I have a Swiss bank card in my wallet. It's in the first drawer of my bedroom. It's in my name. There's about 1 billion in it. Qin Chu left it to me. If I'm gone, you can take the money. Before Huamin could finish, Suyu went crazy. I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it. Deal with your own bank card. If anything happens to you, I'll burn all your cards. You. Huamin was so angry at Suyu that he wanted to laugh. No matter what, nothing can happen to you. Huamin, you have to be strong. You have to work hard to make sure that the 2 babies and you are safe. You are the best doctor, I believe in you. When Suyu said this, he was about to cry, his eyes were wet. This iron-willed man was not afraid of anything, but he was afraid of Huamin's tears. Huamin was suffering like this, and his heart was about to break. At such a critical moment, he still said such scary words. It was as if he was leaving a will. How could Suyu take it? Then I'll try. After a while, Huamin said with difficulty. You can't try, you have to come out safely. I'll wait for you guys. Suyu held Hwamin's hand tightly. At this time, they arrived at the door of the delivery room. Suyu was stopped by the doctor. "Young Master Su, you can't go in. Wait here," the nurse comforted him. Suyu stopped in his tracks. He watched as Hwamin's figure finally disappeared from the door of the delivery room. At that moment, his tears finally couldn't stop falling. "How is it, son? Where's Mion?" At this time, Mrs. Su and Hwamin's mother rushed over. "She's in the delivery room." "Is she about to give birth?" Mrs. Su also became nervous. "Oh, what should we do? It's not even a month yet." Hwamin's mother was also anxious. Chapter 17:15. "Sis, don't worry. I heard that the fetus will be fully formed after 8 months. If it's premature, it's not a problem. At most, the child will stay in the incubator for a few days. Mion will be fine." "Okay." Young Mayorong nodded, but she was still anxious. She took out her phone and walked to the other side of the corridor to call Jishin, who was far away in New Zealand. At this moment, Lord Su called Suyu. "What's the situation with Mion?" "I just called home and the nanny picked up. She said you guys went to the hospital." "Yeah, Mion is premature. It's only been a few months." Grandpa Su was also shocked. 8 months and 8 days, she's already, oh, that's about it. Has she given birth yet? "Not yet, she just entered the delivery room." "Okay, call me when she gives birth." "That's all, I have a meeting now." Before Suyu could say anything, Lord Su hung up the phone. Suyu was also scratching his ears and cheeks anxiously. He had never experienced being with a child. He was so nervous that he could die. If he could replace Hwamin, he would give birth for him. Several delivery rooms were connected, and heart-wrenching screams could be heard from the delivery rooms next to them. The pain was so painful that it made one feel pain just by listening to it. Suyu was so anxious that he paced around on the spot, but he didn't know what to do. "Son, go buy 2 bottles of water. Your Auntie Yang and I are thirsty." "Okay." After Suyu finished speaking, he left the delivery room and went downstairs to buy water. At the same time, in the Hua mansion, "Boss, there's news from the military." "What news?" Hua Siqian was wearing a nightgown and reading a book called Willful Weakness. Miss Hua was just sent to the military hospital. It seems like she's about to give birth. Upon hearing this, Hua Siqian immediately put down the book in his hand and took off his gold-rimmed glasses. About to give birth? Isn't there still some time? I heard it's premature. Premature? Won't that be dangerous? Hua Siqian was also flustered. He stood up with a whoosh. Initially, he did not want Hwamin to give birth to the baby safely, but Suyu protected Hwamin too well. Ever since Hwamin went to live with the Su family, he basically had no chance to make a move. Later on, Hwamin's pregnancy got bigger, so he couldn't do anything. Because the moment he made a move, Hwamin would also lose his life. He would not take that risk. Initially, he was waiting for Hwamin to give birth and move out of the Su family. He was looking for an opportunity. But she didn't expect to give birth so soon. It was really an accident. "Boss, I think this is a good opportunity." Because they left in a hurry, they're not fully prepared. If we send too many people, we might be able to snatch them away. Nonsense. She's already in the delivery room, what's the point of fighting? Do you know how to deliver a baby? Hua Siqian's face darkened. That person immediately lowered his head, not daring to say another word. "Get the car ready, I'm going to the hospital." "You're going yourself?" His subordinates were surprised. "Yes, I'm going to see her. When Huasichen heard that Huamin suddenly gave birth prematurely, he immediately panicked. If Huamin was in danger because of this, wouldn't he not be able to see her for the last time? The man who had always been as steady as Mount Tai and always had a plan, at this moment, was also panicking. Huasichen changed his clothes and walked out. Just as he was about to get into the car, the Land Rover suddenly exploded. There was a deafening rumble. Luckily, he didn't get into the car, or else he would have been smashed into pieces. Then, his phone rang. He picked up the phone and heard a woman's arrogant voice say, "You better not take a single step out of the house today, or else you'll be separated from your family." Obviously, someone didn't want him to go to the hospital. "Are you Lu Yen?" Huasichen asked, but the other party hung up without saying anything. On the other side, Huamin had been in the delivery room for more than 5 hours. At 1 a.m., the obstetrician came out, exhausted. "Did you give birth?" "Doctor. How's my daughter?" Yang Meirong walked up and asked. "Yes, don't worry, the mother and child are both fine and safe." Upon hearing this, Su Yu, Mrs. Su, Huamin, and Mian all let out a sigh of relief. "Doctor, did Mian give birth to twins? Are they boys or girls?" Mrs. Su asked excitedly. Chapter 17-16. They're twin girls. They look exactly the same and are extremely beautiful babies. They're girls, that's great. Mrs. Su had always liked girls, so she was overjoyed when she heard that the twins were girls. Yang Meirong was so excited that her hands trembled. "So I'm going to be a grandmother." "Ah, 2 little guys." Yang Meirong felt like her heart was about to melt. Su Yu was still frozen on the spot. He couldn't tell what he was feeling. His excitement was indescribable. It was as if Huamin was giving birth to his children. In fact, the gender of the child could be determined by an ultrasound at 4 months. Jiang Xiaowei knew early on that she was going to give birth to a boy. Therefore, the Wei family started celebrating a long time ago. The 2 elders of the Wei family even prepared a lot of gifts for Jiang Xiaowei. However, Huamin refused to know the gender of the fetus in advance because he wanted to keep it a little mysterious. He didn't want to know too early, otherwise, there wouldn't be any surprises. Huamin didn't care about the gender of the baby. It didn't matter if it was a boy or a girl. As long as her and Qin Chu's child was healthy and safe. "Where are the babies?" Su Yu came back to his senses after a while and immediately asked the doctor. "The nurse has already sent them to the incubator. Because they're too light, they need to be observed in the incubator for a few days. The mother has exhausted too much energy, so she needs to rest in the hospital." "Oh right, who's the immediate family? Can you sign the form for me?" "I am." Yang Meirong immediately followed the doctor to the office. "Let's go and see Mian." Mrs. Su was in a good mood as she led Su Yu into the hospital room. On the way, Mrs. Su didn't forget to excitedly report the good news to Lord Su. "Dad! Mian gave birth. It's a pair of girls." "Okay, you'll see them when you come back. We'll hang up now." Mrs. Su happily hung up the phone. "What did Grandpa say?" Su Yu smiled. "He can't wait to fly back. He kept saying that he wanted to prepare gifts for the babies." Ha! Grandpa is really excited. By the time Su Yu and her son walked into the room, Huamin had already regained consciousness. However, he looked very weak and pale. "Auntie Su," Huamin said weakly. "Mian, you're the best. I can't believe you gave birth to twins naturally. Thank you so much. You're so considerate of your mother and didn't let you suffer too much, okay? You have a pair of beautiful daughters." Mrs. Su held Huamin's hand and said gently. Huamin nodded weakly. "When I was in the delivery room, the nurse told me." They're very healthy. It's just that they're a little light. The two of them only weigh 7 pounds, they're not small. You have a pair, not just one. They'll be discharged in a few days in the incubator. Don't think about anything for the next few days, just take care of your body. I hired a high-class confinement nanny for you. She'll take care of you and the babies during your confinement. If you want to eat anything, just tell me, okay? Thank you, Auntie, you're so good to me. Hua-min looked at Mrs. Su gratefully. You're welcome, I treat you like a daughter. Your Lord Su is so happy that he keeps asking to come back to see the babies. Just then, Mrs. Su turned around and called out to Su Yu. Son, why are you still standing there? Come and see Mian. Chapter 17:17. Su Yu slowly walked over and looked at Hua-min with heartache. The first thing he asked was, does it still hurt? Hua-min smiled and shook her head. It doesn't hurt anymore. It really hurt like hell just now. No wonder when I was an intern in the OB/GYN department, our head doctor always said that when a woman gives birth, the pain is like breaking a dozen ribs. I've always thought that I was a very tolerant person, but in that moment, I still felt like I was going to die from the pain. Silly girl, it's all in the past. Su Yu comforted her. Okay. I'll go check on the babies in a bit. You rest well. Okay. Hua-min smiled. It was obvious that her face was filled with the happiness of being a mother for the first time. Su Yu walked to the door and suddenly turned around to look at Hua-min with a gentle smile. Actually, I've always secretly hoped that you could give birth to a pair of twin girls. That way, there would be 2 more little guys like you in this world. What a happy thing that would be. After speaking, Su Yu turned around and left before Hua-min could say anything. After a while, Yang Meirong came back. Seeing her return, Mrs. Su couldn't wait to say, Sis, take care of Mian first. I'll go check on the babies too. Okay, you guys go first. Yang Meirong took a towel, wet it with hot water, and patiently wiped Hua-min's face. Mian. You're finally free. It's great that you don't have to suffer anymore. Yeah, Mom. Did you suffer as much when you gave birth to little brother? Jishin was fine, because it was my second child. When I gave birth to you, I did suffer a lot. At that time, it was so painful that I wanted to find a hole to hide in. Hua-min's expression froze slightly. She didn't seem to have told her mother the truth yet. Therefore, her mother never knew that the first child she gave birth to wasn't Hua-min. But this was fine too. Even if it was a white lie, he would leave it at that for the time being. Otherwise, with his mother's personality, if she knew the truth, she would be extremely upset. Have you thought of a name for the little guy? We can take our time to think of a proper name, but a nickname has to be given. It's easy to raise. Yang Meirong said superstitiously. Hua-min thought for a moment, then tilted his head and said, let's call them Pudding and Little Bean. Pudding. Little Bean. Yang Meirong was stunned. Yeah, she's a girl. The most important thing is that she's cute, okay, as long as you like it. Then, Yang Meirong took out her phone. I called Jishin. Video chat with him. On the other side, Hua-min was happily talking to Jishin in the hospital room. On the other side, Mrs. Su and Su Yu stood outside the incubator intensive care unit. She looked at the pair of chubby little guys through the glass window. Do you see that? That pair over there, the ones wearing pink polka dots. Su Yu's mother pointed at them in surprise. Su Yu leaned over the glass window and looked, frowning slightly. Mom, didn't the doctor say that? They're really cute and pretty. Yeah. I didn't expect them to be super cute. They're a pair of cute little princesses. If only they were ours. Mrs. Su greedily mumbled to herself, unable to suppress the excitement in her heart. But why do they look like monkeys? They're so wrinkled, their eyes are so small, and they don't have much hair. Are they really pretty? What's wrong with the doctor's taste? Are they really Mion's babies? Did they get the wrong babies? Suyu was puzzled. Mrs. Su. Chapter 17-18. What do you know? Newborns are all like this. Their facial features can only be seen after they're a month old. When you were born, you weren't even as good as them. I thought I gave birth to an ugly monster. I was devastated because of it. Suyu and Mrs. Su looked at the babies for a long time, their eyes filled with love. Suyu, in particular, felt very strange. He really liked this pair of kids from the bottom of his heart. When he walked out of the incubator, he took out his phone and announced in the group chat, "Good news, Dr. Hua gave birth to twin beauties on October 23 at 1:36 and 1:38 a.m. Both mother and daughter are safe." It was the wee hours of the morning, but Suyu's WeChat message caused an uproar in the group chat. Tang Chuan, holy shit, what's going on? All I did was drink and sleep with her. How did Dr. Hua give birth to a baby? Gao Ran, I'm on the night shift. I was just about to doze off when I woke up. Hua Min gave birth to daughters? Congrats. Wei Liao, Xiao Wei is breastfeeding my young master, so I'll take over for her. Congrats, Hua Min, you've become a mother. Jiang Xiao Wei, breastfeeding doesn't affect WeChat messaging. Mian gave birth to a girl. Then we can be in-laws. I have a daughter-in-law now. Tang Chuan, sis-in-law, are you sure you want to be in-laws with Hua Min? Are you sure your Wei Yunchu can handle Hua Min's genius babies? Wei Liao, we don't have to worry about that. Xiao Wei isn't a pushover either. I believe my young master can handle it. Zhu Lingling, since Mian gave birth to two, then one for Xiao Wei and one for me. I want to be in-laws too. Gao Ran, honey, let's stop fooling around, okay? The problem isn't whether or not we can be in-laws with Mian. The problem is that we have to find a son first. Tang Chuan, you have a point. Ni Yang, bro Suyu. How's my sister doing? Are you alright? Suyu, I'm fine. I'm just a little tired, so I'm already asleep. From tomorrow onwards, you can come and visit me one after another, Ni Yang, that's great. I'll go think about what gifts to prepare for my nieces. Tang Chuan, right. The gift is the key. Jiang Xiaowei, do you have a name? Suyu, I haven't asked if Hua Min has thought of a proper name. As for nicknames, I heard from Auntie Yang that the eldest one is called Pudding and the second one is called Little Bean. Zhu Lingling, so talented. Pudding and Little Bean. Tang Chuan, why can't it be fruit jelly? Wei Liao, you're just a foodie. I think you look like fruit jelly. Jiang Xiaowei, their names are super cute. I'm looking forward to seeing what these cute twins look like. Suyu, now that I look at them, they look like monkeys. Suyu's words made everyone faint. Tang Chuan, I'm going to screenshot it for Hua Min. Who asked you to say that his daughters look like monkeys? Suyu, why don't you try it? See what the consequences are. Suyu threatened, in a quiet manner on the outskirts of Seattle, United States. Because of the time difference, it was daytime here. Bro, the latest news came from China. My sister-in-law just gave birth. Already? So soon. Qin Chu's eyes were slightly surprised. It's a pair of twins. They gave birth naturally. Mian, you're so lucky. Twins. That's great. When they grow up, they'll be as kind and smart as their mother. Chin Chu's eyes were filled with endless gentleness. He slowly got up with the help of his black cane. So, when do you plan to go back? After your sister-in-law gives birth, she's at her weakest. If you don't go back now, what if she and sue you? Qi Ning didn't finish her sentence, but her meaning was obvious. Chapter 17:19. I'll do my best and leave the rest to fate. After speaking, Chin Chu quietly turned around. Behind Chin Chu, Qin Ning's eyes glistened with tears. Ever since her brother's accident and return to the States, he seemed to have changed into a different person. His aura became even gloomier. He became more reserved and didn't like to talk. He often sat alone in his study and stared blankly into the distance. No one knew what was going on in his mind. Mr. Qin's condition temporarily stabilized. Later on, Qin Chu personally performed another surgery. He was recovering well. The Qin family never lacked money. Fewer and fewer people were looking for them, and some had already given up. Qin Ning's father, Qin Chu's uncle, had already returned to the headquarters in New York. Mr. Qin and Mama Qin had also gone to Hawaii to recuperate. Only Qin Chu was left. He was still in Seattle, living alone in his house. Qin Ning often came to visit him and brought him news about Huamin and the children. Qin Ning thought that after her sister-in-law gave birth, he would definitely go back. She had just heard him say that he would do his best and leave the rest to fate, but she felt that going back was a long way away. Qin Ning didn't know what he was thinking or planning. She just felt bad for her sister-in-law in China. She lived alone in someone else's house and had to wait for a long time to give birth to the twins. Big brother, should I prepare gifts for my nieces and send them back? Qin Ning yelled at Qin Chu, who was walking away. Qin Chu raised one hand and waved it, indicating that it wasn't necessary. Qin Ning bit her lips and began to feel angry. She didn't know how her sister-in-law could tolerate her brother's boring personality. It was so infuriating. Australia, on a white luxury cruise ship, a girl with long hair and wearing a green chiffon dress sat on the deck, enjoying the sea breeze and drinking red wine. Boss, your sister gave birth. Is it a boy or a girl? Lu Yan turned around in surprise. She knew that Huamin was about to give birth, so she specially arranged for a bomb to be placed on Hua Xiqian's car. Of course, the goal was not to kill him, and it would not be so easy to kill him. She only wanted to threaten him so that he wouldn't court death when her sister was giving birth, a pair of daughters. Wow, it's my niece. I'm finally an auntie, so... Boss, do we still need to prepare Swiss Army knives for the two children? He had heard the boss mention this before. Are you stupid? Such a young child, when will he be able to use a Swiss Army knife? No. I have to go to the auction house and see if there's anything good I can buy for the two of them. After all, this is their first time coming to a world with Auntie. Then, Lu Yan put down the red wine in her hand and was about to get off the boat. Boss, there's one more thing. What is it? Lu Yan looked back coldly. Young Master Qiao, what's wrong with Psycho Qiao? Dead? Lu Yan blurted it out as a joke. He's not dead, but young Master Qiao's injuries are very serious. He's still in the emergency room. What? Lu Yan raised her voice. When young Master Qiao went to Japan for business, he was attacked by terrorists. Many of his men died. Young Master Qiao was also attacked by many assassins. Fortunately, he managed to break out of the encirclement, but he's seriously injured. Mr. Qiao just called and asked me to tell you that he wants you to go and see young Master Qiao. Why didn't you tell me earlier? What a piece of trash. Lu Yan's expression changed drastically. Chapter 17:20. Didn't you say before that no news can compare to the news from your sister? That's why I wanted to tell you about the twins before we talk about this. You're so stupid. Lu Yan didn't have time to think and immediately left on a cruise. On her way to Russia, Lu Yan contacted her father. Dad, do you know that Xiao Fei is injured? Yes, old Xiao called me and said that the surgery was very difficult. There are 5 gunshot wounds on his body and they're all in critical areas. It's very difficult to remove the bullets, so he asked if I could go over. Then what are you waiting for? Go over. You can't let Psycho Xiao die. Lu Yan sounded agitated. Lass, I can't go. Ian's men are behind Xiao Fei's injury. Their goal isn't to kill Xiao Fei, but to lure me out. I'm being watched by many people, and they're waiting for me to show up. As soon as I show up, I'll be caught by Ian. If I can't save Xiao Fei, I'll get myself killed. Then what should I do? I don't know medicine and I'm not as smart as my sister. Your sister hasn't given birth to a mother yet. The old man suddenly remembered. She gave birth to twin girls. Really? Then I'm a grandfather. The old man's voice was filled with surprise. Dad, now's not the time to be happy. I'm on my way to Russia. But it's useless even if I go there. I'm not a good doctor and I can't save him. Then let him die. You don't like him anyway, so why are you in such a hurry? The old man said deliberately. I just think that if Psycho Xiao dies, I won't have any enemies and my life will be boring. Yen, are you still not willing to admit that you like Xiao Fei? How is that possible? Why would I like that guy? Lu Yan denied it again. If that's the case, then fine. I don't have to tell you how to save him. Then, the old man was about to hang up. Lu Yan reacted quickly and immediately yelled, Don't hang up, old man. You said you have a way to save Xiao Fei. Yeah. But you don't like him, so it's useless to save him. Xiao Fei has been good to you all these years, but it's useless. There's no point in living, so it's better to just die. Actually, I don't hate him that much. He's a nice guy. Other than being too cold and arrogant, everything else about him is nice. If he didn't take me away last time, I would have been caught by Ian. So, you like Xiao Fei, right? Fuck. What kind of father would force his own daughter to know who she likes? Old man, don't you think it's heartless to do this? Xiao Yen, Xiao Fei doesn't have much time left. Are you sure you want to waste time with me? Yen, after 5 seconds of Lu Yen said in a low voice, Mister, I like Xiao Fei. Please don't let him die. After lose to Lu, Yen T test to T to go to T to S right 8 to Americate T it's thousands of miles away. Lu Yen didn't understand. Go to America and find someone who can save Xiao Fei. He's a genius doctor like your sister who can save him. Chapter 1721. After the old man said this, Lu Yen suddenly understood. Are you talking about Qin? But I haven't been able to find him. Dad, are you sure he's still in the U.S.? Are you sure he's still alive? If he hasn't been killed. Lu Yan was completely shocked. She had been investigating Qin Chu for a long time, but to no avail. How did her dad know he was in the U.S.? I'll send you an email. After you decipher it, you'll see the detailed address. Remember, be careful when you go, don't get followed, okay? Lu Yan nodded. Okay, go now. I'll contact you later. Then, the old man hung up. 1 minute later, Lu Yan received an email. It took him another 30 seconds to crack the old man's exclusive password. Change the flight route, we're going to Seattle now, Liu Yan said domineeringly. Sea City, Hua Corporation headquarters. After the morning meeting, Hua Xiqian returned to his office with a question on his mind. That was, he really wanted to see Mion's daughters. The little guys who were born yesterday morning. Hua Xiqian looked at the calendar on his desk and smiled. They were born after midnight on the 23rd. They're a pair of little Scorpios. It seems like Mion's babies will be difficult to deal with in the future. President Hua is having lunch with President Li of Wanha at noon, and there's a real estate alliance meeting at the International Center in the afternoon. The secretary said quickly. Cancel it all, I'll go buy gifts later. I won't go to the meeting in the afternoon. Okay. The secretary was slightly surprised. Then, Hua Xiqian drove alone to the most luxurious luxury shopping mall in the city. Sir, what would you like to buy? I can show you around. The shop assistant was extremely enthusiastic. I want to buy gifts for my baby girls. Hua Xiqian smiled wickedly. In the military hospital, Hua Min himself was in disbelief. Everything felt like it was the will of the heavens. Originally, he thought that the baby would definitely be a Libra. Who knew that after midnight, it would be the morning of the 23rd? So she gave birth to 2 little Scorpios. Would he grow up to be as arrogant as Mr. Qin? Military hospitals. Hua Min woke up in the morning and said to his mother, Mom, I want to see the baby. Then I'll call the nurse to bring it over for you to take a look. Lie down first, don't worry. Yang Meirong comforted. Hua Min nodded. Not long after, 2 young nurses carefully walked in with 2 babies in their arms. Miss Hua, the baby is very beautiful. His eyes are beautiful, his eyelashes are long, and his hair is black. One of the nurses praised. Hua Min carefully sat up and leaned against the bed. He took them one by one and examined them carefully. It was as if she could see Qin Chu's shadow in their faces. You guys still know who's the boss, right? Hua Min asked with a smile. It's on the bracelet, but... Miss Hua, you should give them names, because the hospital needs to register them and get their birth certificates. You'll need their names in the future. Okay, let me think about it. Hua Min held the boss in one arm and the second baby in the other. Looking at this, looking at that, in an instant, her heart was about to melt. Then, she suddenly thought of Qin Chu. Finally, she looked up at the nurses and said, I've thought about it. What's his name? The 2 nurses asked impatiently. Chapter 1722. Qin Zhao Zhao, Qin Mumu, Hua Min said slowly. Zhao Zhao Mumu. That's a special name. One of the nurses said with a smile. It's so poetic. I remember there's a poem that goes, if love lasts forever, why stay together day and night? Wow. Miss Hua, are you missing the baby's father? Another nurse asked jokingly. Hua Min smiled but didn't say anything. She turned around and looked at her mother. Mom, are these 2 names okay? Do they sound good? They sound good, as long as you like them. My granddaughter, you can call them anything you want. Yang Meirong's eyes were filled with warmth. It was such a happy thing to be by her daughter's side and watch her give birth to a pair of cute twins. Miss Hua, it's almost time. The babies need to sleep in the incubator for a while. Okay. Hua Min reluctantly let go of her hand and let the nurses take the babies away. Then, only she and her mother were left in the room. Mion. I've always wanted to talk to you alone, Yang Meirong said slowly as she looked at her daughter. Mom, go ahead. Mion. I didn't mean anything by what I said to you today. Don't think too much about it, I'm doing it for your own good. Yang Meirong knew that Hua Min had prenatal depression, so she didn't dare to say too much before. Now that the babies were born, Huamin's mood improved a lot. She really needed to talk to her daughter. No, don't feel burdened, I'm not that unreasonable. Huamin smiled. Then, she took her mother's hand and placed it in her palm, just like when she was young. Although Yang Meirong wasn't her biological mother, she had been really good to her all these years. She had never looked at her coldly just because Zhixin was a boy and she was a girl. Instead, she doted on her the same way. Although her mother misunderstood her because of Uncle Jing's death, it didn't affect their years of mother-daughter relationship. Upon hearing Huamin's words, Yang Meirong didn't hold back anymore. She said earnestly, Mian, you're only 25 years old this year. You're still so young, what are you going to do with twins? Mom, it's not hard at all. The money that Qin Chu left me is enough for our entire family to live comfortably. Do you know how much that is? Huamin smiled. I'm not interested in those numbers. All I know is that there are a lot of things in this world that money can't buy. No matter how rich you are, can you buy the twins' paternal love? Yang Meirong questioned. Huamin remained silent. Can you buy the company of the man you need? Huamin remained silent. Mian, I know you're a strong woman. You're independent and strong, and you've always been like that. But even if you don't think for yourself, you have to think for the twins. They were born without a father and can only grow up with their mother's love. Can you really bear to see that? I don't want to. Mom, but what can I do? Qin Chu. Huamin's eyes teared up slightly. She had already stopped herself from thinking about Qin Chu, afraid that her depression would worsen. Have you thought about it? If Qin Chu is dead and he's never coming back. What about you? Are you really going to be alone? Yang Meirong looked at her daughter with heartache. Chapter 1723. It's fine if I'm alone. We came to this world as one person, and in the end, we were taken in by one person. We shouldn't have placed our hopes on someone else. I'm prepared to be alone for the rest of my life. This is fate. I've already accepted it. Huamin replied calmly. No. Mian, you're wrong. You still have a long life ahead of you. You're only in your 20s, and your life has just begun. If Qin Chu really doesn't come back, you should consider giving someone else a chance. I don't want you to be alone. Huamin was a little surprised, and then she looked up at her mother. Mom. What do you mean? Yang Meirong took a deep breath and slowly said, Mian, to be honest, I think Su Yu is a good guy. Before Huamin could say anything, Yang Meirong continued, I know how Su Yu feels about you. I heard that he's liked you for a long time. Mom, who did you hear that from? Did Auntie Su say anything to you? Huamin was a little embarrassed. No. Lady Su didn't say anything. I've been there, how can I not see the way Su Yu looks at you? Plus, the Su family has done so much for us. Even I, as his mother, am touched. If it weren't for the Su family, you would have been executed a long time ago, Mom, even if Su Yu has done so much for me. I can't give myself to him. You have to know that I don't love him. If I choose to be with him instead of loving him, I'd be irresponsible to him and myself. Huamin's voice was a little agitated. She didn't think that even her mother would ask her to accept Su Yu. Mian, you have to know that I'm asking you to give that kid a chance. It's not because of his wealth or family background. It's because of his character. He's a trustworthy person, and I think he can give my granddaughters a safe and warm home. You can't always think about yourself. Plus, marriage isn't about love. After two people who love each other get over the 7-year itch, they'll return to normal and live a normal life, not a romantic one. I know you're smarter than I am, so I'm just giving you a suggestion. Of course, the decision is still yours. Although Su Yu was born into a rich family, he doesn't have the temperament of a spoiled brat. Instead, he's devoted to you. Even a blind person can see that. Plus, you've always been a grateful person. I don't believe that you'll be willing to betray the Su family and Su Yu's love for you, Mom. This has nothing to do with betraying anyone. Su Yu's love for me is his business. I love Chin Chu. Plus, have you thought about what would happen if Chin Chu comes back and I end up with Su Yu? What would happen to Chin Chu? After all, he's the man I love, and he's the father of my children. I'm not asking you to make a decision right now. What I'm saying is, give yourself some time, and give Chin Chu some time as well. If after 3 or 5 years, Chin Chu is still missing, I believe that he's either dead or alive. If that happens, what's the point of waiting for someone like him? Chapter 1724. Mom, this isn't something that can be explained in a few words. I have my own plans. Huamin didn't seem to agree with her mother's opinion, but she didn't want to argue with her either. Therefore, she subconsciously avoided the question. Okay, if that's the case, then I won't say any more. Yang Meirong wasn't disappointed, she knew her daughter's temper very well. Huamin could be very scary when she was stubborn, she wasn't perfect. Even if she was a genius, she still had personality flaws. As a mother, Yang Meirong understood her situation, but she still hoped that she and her child could have a better life. She didn't want to raise her child alone at such a young age. When her child grew up, she could leave home and have her own family. When that happened, what would her daughter, Huamin, do? Would she have to spend the rest of her life with her? The more Yang Meirong thought about it, the sadder she felt. Just then, the door to the ward opened, a group of people walked in. Siyu led the way, followed by Wei Liao, Jiang Xiaowei, Gao Ran, Zhu Lingling, Ai Yang, Qin Jia, and of course, Tang Chuan, who was always alone. Dr. Hua, congratulations, where are the daughters? Let me see. Tang Chuan couldn't wait to put the gifts on Huamin's bed and began to look around for the children. They're sleeping in the incubator. You can go over there, or you can wait until they wake up and bring them over. Wow! I'm so excited to see what my daughter-in-law looks like. Zhu Lingling exclaimed. I feel the same. Jiang Xiaowei said calmly. Huamin smiled helplessly. Is it okay for you two to be like this? My daughter was born less than 48 hours ago, and you're already planning for the future. So, do you want to marry me? My family is rich. Jiang Xiaowei laughed. Although we're not rich, we're high-ranking officials. When my son grows up, Captain Gao will probably be able to work in the provincial department. So, do you want to give one to my family? With our relationship for so many years, I'll be super good to my daughter-in-law. If my son dares to fool around with a mistress, I'll definitely break his legs, Zhu Lingling said confidently. Ahem. Honey, calm down. You're thinking too far ahead. Gao Ran stopped Zhu Lingling from saying anything more. Everyone burst into laughter. Huamin received a mountain of gifts, golden jade bracelets, emerald bracelets, jade guanine pendants, diamond longevity locks. The level of luxury left one speechless. Lord Su. What did you give him? Why don't I see your gift? Tang Chuan asked out of turn. I don't have a gift, I'm poor. I can't afford it. I can't compare to rich people like you, Siyu answered shamelessly. Everyone almost vomited blood when they heard this. President Su, you're too low-key. If you say you're poor, then wouldn't we be beggars? Ai Yang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Ignore him, he's just pretending. I think he gave me something too good to show, Wei Liao laughed. Su Yu, you're wrong. Why don't you share your gift with us? Gao Ran also joined in. Zhu Lingling looked at him with disdain. Lord Su, did you really not prepare a gift? Why are you so cheap? Seeing that everyone was starting to make things difficult for Su Yu, Huamin immediately stepped forward. What gift? I've been living in the Su family for a while and I've spent an astronomical amount of money. Ha, I don't want his gift. It's not good to spend too much money. In the future. Su Yu still needs to save money for his wife. After Huamin finished speaking, everyone looked at Su Yu. In the end, Su Yu couldn't withstand everyone's bombardment. He slowly reached into his trouser pocket and took out an invoice. Then, he placed it on the table in an extremely cool manner. Tang Chuan quickly snatched the invoice. When he looked at it, he was stunned. Chapter 1725. Wow! What a big gift. What is it? Let me see. Zhu Lingling felt like she was asking for it. She snatched it over and looked at it. She couldn't help but exclaim, wow, 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 wow. Rich people are so different, they're so generous. Lingling, don't beat around the bush. Tell us. Jiang Shaowei chuckled. It's a luxury cruise ship worth 380 million yuan, princess. Holy shit. Lord Su, you're so generous. You treat them like your own daughters. Wei Liao was also amazed. Su Yu's face flashed with awkwardness. It seems like you're serious. A plane for a boy and a cruise ship for a girl. Ha! Tang Chuan suddenly remembered what he said when they were chatting. I'm a man of my word. Do you think I'm as talkative as you guys? Su Yu said proudly. This gift is too expensive, I can't. Huamin was about to refuse. However, Su Yu turned around and glared at her. It's not for you, you can't refuse it. It's for the little princesses. As long as they like it. Huamin was speechless. Mian. I heard that the babies' names have been decided. Jiang Shaowei cleverly changed the subject, not wanting to embarrass Huamin any further. Aren't they going to be called Pudding and Little Bean? Zhu Lingling was confused. Their official names, I heard that they're going to be used on the birth certificate today. Jiang Shaowei added. Sis. So what are my nieces going to be called? Ni Yang looked expectant. Chen Jia shyly held on to Ni Yang's arm. I think our chief's name will be very special and beautiful. Huamin smiled, glanced at everyone's faces, and said, Qin Zhao Zhao, Qin Mumu. Zhao Zhao Mumu. Wei Liao chuckled. However, Jiang Shaowei blurted out, the delicate clouds are ingenious, the flying stars transmit hatred, the Milky Way crosses in secret, the golden wind and the jade do meet, surpassing countless people in the human world, tender as water, the auspicious days are like a dream, enduring the Magpie Bridge and returning to the road. If two people love each other for a long time, how can they be together day and night? Qin Guan's immortal at the Magpie Bridge, Mian, you're so poetic, Gao Ran praised. What do you mean? Can someone explain? I'm not well educated, don't bully me. Zhu Lingling interrupted. It means that you miss someone very much. You miss them day and night, from sunrise to sunset. You miss them every single day. If you really love them for a long time, you don't need to spend every single day with them. You'll be together forever. Jiang Shaowei briefly explained what she meant. Mian, you came up with this name to commemorate Mr. Qin, right? Zhu Lingling blurted out without thinking. Su Yu's eyes were slightly hurt. It seemed like, after all that they'd been through, Huamin still only had Qin Chu in his heart. Even their children's names were Zhao Zhao Mumu, so sentimental. Qin Zhao Zhao. Qin Moo Moo. They're so cute, I'm looking forward to what they'll be like when they grow up. Will they be as calm and arrogant as Mr. Qin, or as smart and far-sighted as you? Jiang Xiaowei looked at Huamin and chuckled. I don't have any expectations for them anymore, I just want them to grow up healthy and safe, Huamin replied with a smile. Are we going to celebrate your 1-month birthday? Tang Chuan suddenly asked. I'll prepare it, you guys can come to my house. Huamin can't go out right now, the murder case hasn't been solved yet. Didn't Mayor Song fall from power? Ni Yang asked curiously. Song Qinggua's fall from power has nothing to do with Hua Xiqian's murder case. The only key person is Hua Xiqian. Jiang Xiaowei analyzed. Speaking of Hua Xiqian, I'm confused. Mian already gave birth, but he's still calm and hasn't done anything. It's not like him. Did he hold it in for too long and want to scheme against Mian? Zhu Lingling guessed. Chapter 1726. If he dares to mess with Huamin again, I'll fight him to the death. Su Yu's words were completely out of reflex, he didn't feel awkward until he said it out loud. After all, there were so many people around, and it wasn't good for him to be so blunt. Ahem, right now, the only person who can deal with that crazy Hua Xiqian is our Lord Su. Tang Chuan smirked as he put his arm around Su Yu's shoulder. Let's go see the twins in the incubator, two beauties. Jiang Xiaowei took the lead and led the rest of the group away. Suddenly, Huamin was left alone in the room. I'll go make you some soup, lie down first. Yang Meirong looked at her daughter. Okay, thank you, Mom. Huamin finally understood the greatness of a mother after giving birth. Carrying a baby for 10 months and then giving birth in the morning. It wasn't as simple as it seemed. Only women who experienced it would know. People say that only when you raise a child do you know how much your parents love you. Huamin finally understood this saying. She also knew how hard it was for her mother to raise her and Jixin. Huamin was just about to lie down when her phone rang. It was a video call. Kid, what time is it over there? Aren't you sleeping? Huamin looked at Jixin and chuckled. Sis, where are my nieces? I want to see them. Jixin couldn't wait to speak. After Huamin gave birth, Yang Meirong called Jixin and told him about it. He was no longer in the mood to go to class. The twins were in the incubator. Haha, they're in the incubator. They're still very light, so they can't move freely yet. What do they look like? Do they look like you or brother-in-law? Or do they look like you and brother-in-law? How would I know? They're so small, I can't see anything. I can only see their faces after they're a month old. Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Just thinking about how I'm an uncle makes me so happy. I really want to fly back and see them. What's the rush? When I'm done with my confinement, I'll move out. You don't have many classes, so you can fly back and we can catch up. When Mom came back, she was worried about you. She said that you can't eat well over there. Australia is different from China, and there are very few ingredients. Even if we can buy them, they won't taste the same. Mom misses me so much. I miss you so much. Sis, you just gave birth and your body is still weak. If you eat something good, I'll ask Mom to make more delicious food for you, like fish soup or pig trotter soup. Yes. Take good care of yourself. Don't catch a cold. I heard that if you get sick during the confinement period, it won't be easy to treat. Kid, what are you nagging about? Your sister is a doctor. Do I need you to tell me that? Why are you becoming more and more like Mom? Is this something a man like you should be concerned about? Ha. Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry at his younger brother's concern. I'm doing this for your own good. Sis, you really don't know what's good for you. Jixin sighed. Ha. Kid, do you have a new girlfriend overseas? Hurry up and tell me. I really don't. Foreign girls are hot and passionate, but I'm not interested. A few of my classmates are Chinese, but they're too arrogant and snobbish. They think I'm a poor international student and don't want to talk to me because I'm living a frugal life. Ha. Okay, I give up. But you're still young, you don't have to rush into relationships. Sis, yeah. Still no news from brother-in-law? Jixin asked carefully. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.